the fifths.
It doesn't matter.
This is Judy Justice. Nadine Unger is suing her former friend, Michael Ponsford, for damaged property and filing a false police report.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3166, Unger versus Ponsford.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Unger, your cause of action against the defendant has a couple of parts. First, you're suing him for having you falsely arrested.
Correct.
And then you say that he damaged some property which he was storing for you in a unit.
Correct. At his
Okay.
house.
Those are the two things that you're suing him for. He has a counterclaim for property damage, which he's going to tell me about. So first I'm going to deal with your complaint, because I've read your papers, and it appears to me that you two have known each other for a long time. And at some point after knowing each other for a long time as friends, you began a relationship. In what year was that?
We didn't begin a relationship. I rented a room in his house.
Renting a room in his house, if that is some sort of a relationship, that's more than shaking somebody's hand.
It's a relationship. It's a
Well, I
business
understand that, but you
relationship.
were, in fact, in a relationship with him while you were living in his house. Could you give me an answer, yes or no? That's a very easy answer. The answer is yes.
I'll plead the fifth.
What? Miss Unger, please don't play with me. You have a claim, and your first claim is that he had you arrested. And what I am trying to establish is the ground rules for that part of your complaint, having you falsely arrested. You knew each other for a long time.
Yes.
Let's not play with each other. You moved into his house, and when you moved into his house, you began a relationship with him after a period of time.
After a period of
Okay. Very good.
May I present some evidence?
No.
Sorry.
While you were living in his house in the year 2022, 2 years ago, according to you, he had you arrested for domestic violence. And the incident surrounding that, I'm going to encapsulate, and tell me if there is anything inconsistent with what you wrote in your papers and what I'm saying.
Okay.
On this date in 2022, you took his phone. You took his phone to make a call, and you went into another room in the house.
No. He gave me his phone. I asked if I could use it. He gave me the phone, and I went into his shop.
That's exactly what I said.
In the shop. It's not in the house. And I locked the door of his office so I could use
Madam,
the phone.
it's all pretty irrelevant to me, because what I read, what he says happened, what you say happened, are two different things. But putting it all together, you took his phone, you went into a room, you locked the door, and according to him, he tried to get into the door, and he wanted his phone because you were looking through his phone. And when he finally got into the door with a key, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it was his house. He said that you assaulted him. You left the house subsequent to that. According to you, on that day, you went out to a movie and you went for something to eat, and then you went home. That's what it says here. And you went home, and when you got home, the police were there, and they arrested you for assault.
I was arrested for assault. I did not hit him.
Just a second. You were arrested for assault.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. And you were taken to jail. And you were in jail for how many days?
7 days. But I didn't hit him.
Just a second. We're getting to why it doesn't matter, Miss Unger. We're getting to why it doesn't matter.
If I hit him or not?
Yes,
Doesn't
we're getting
matter?
to why it doesn't matter. So you went to jail for 7 days. And when you got out of jail, you contacted the defendant and went back.
No, I couldn't.
And you
There was a
went
restraining order.
back to the house.
No.
Are you telling me that after this alleged assault, you and the defendant, I've read your papers, you and the defendant did not go back to having a relationship for a period of time?
No. Never.
After she was released from jail, we made arrangements for Nadine to get her belongings. Is that what happened?
Correct.
Shortly after that, she came to me and apologized and wanted to rekindle things.
No.
She told me how overwhelmed she was, and her outburst was a one-time thing. She never officially moved back in, but she stayed at my house most nights. Are you telling me that
No.
that is not true?
That is not true.
Did you ever stay at his house after you got... Careful what you tell me. Did you ever stay at his house after you were released from jail?
No.
Have any proof that you did? That would be anything after September 18th, 2022.
I have the...
No, just a second. Don't speak. Just look.
Well, these...
Don't speak. I'm resting. Just find. Any communication with her after September of 2022?
I didn't say I never communicated to him, but I'd never spent the night there. He won't find anything. There's no evidence I spent the night at his house after that.
I don't know whether you did or not.
I did not.
I had screenshots taken of conversations, but nothing's dated here.
Okay.
There's no proof because it never happened.
I'm not so sure, Miss Unger, because I don't think that you were actually totally honest with me. In any event, he filed a restraining order against you, a temporary restraining order, according to what you said, and the restraining order was granted. Yes. Was it granted after a trial?
A hearing.
Well, a hearing, a trial. You appeared before a judge.
Yes.
And you were sworn to testify.
Yes.
And you testified.
Yes.
Well, you had to testify, and he testified. Other than the two of you, did anybody else testify?
No.
And after the hearing, which has the same quantum level of proof that I have here, the judge granted him a restraining order.
The judge said he didn't.
Just a second. Did the judge grant him a restraining order?
He did.
For how long?
6 months.
Nadine Unger claims her former friend, Michael Ponsford, damaged her belongings and filed false charges against her. Michael is countersuing for property damage.
Okay, I can't here, nor will I, overrule that judge's opinion about whether or not he was entitled to a restraining order. And his restraining order was based upon the events that took place in 2022, correct?
Yes.
Just that event. That was the only kerfuffle that the two of you had, I assume.
No.
It's the only time you were arrested.
Correct.
Okay. Well, the judge has already ruled on that, so I'm not considering that. It's not part of your case anymore. It's already been adjudicated.
I have the arrest report.
Have what?
The arrest report where she was arrested.
Does it take her statement as to what happened?
No.
It states that...
Shh, don't tell me what it states, then I can read it.
Your Honor, I counted 32 lies in that statement to police, the arrest report.
Mm-hmm. Police report indicates that you had a relationship with him for 2 years.
No.
Not true. Okay.
I moved in July of 2021.
And moved out when?
When I was arrested.
And never came back?
Never came back.
Okay. In any event, that case has already been adjudicated. Another judge heard evidence on it, and whether or not there was sufficient showing that he was entitled to a protective order. That court found that he did, and I'm bound by that court.
Those charges were dismissed.
I don't care whether they were dismissed. The dismissal is beyond a reasonable doubt. The quantum of proof, on the other hand, in a civil proceeding is much less. And a judge who heard his request for a protective order granted it to him on the same facts that you're asking me to hear. I cannot do that. It's called res judicata. The issue has already been decided by a court where the quantum of proof is exactly the same as it is before me. I'm not relitigating that case, Ms. Unger. Do you understand? I don't care whether you understand. I don't care whether you understand or not. I've just explained it to you. You want to consult with an attorney? You can do that. The attorney will explain the same thing. You've had your day. I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
You've had your day in court.
I did not have a day in court. That's why I'm suing him for damages of filing a false police report.
No, madam. You did have your day in court before a judge.
That was before the charges were dropped. The charges,
listen, please.
Criminal charges were dropped after the...
It doesn't matter.
After the...
It doesn't matter. This is a civil proceeding. You had a similar civil proceeding before a judge who heard you testify as to whether or not you assaulted him, and he testified as to the nature of the assault, and that court found...
I didn't testify, though.
You just told me that you did. Could you read that back when I asked her if she told her story? Either you testified or you consented to the order. That's the only way. Yeah.
It says, and you were sworn to testify, yes. And you testified, yes.
I did not testify.
So when you told me you testified, you were lying to me.
It was a long time ago. I did not
It was
testify.
a long time ago, too long ago for me, too. There was a final order of protection granted for 6 months. That case is finished. Now let's talk about your property.
I brought a video of the assault when she hit me in the office.
I'd like to see that, by the way, just for giggles.
Me too, for giggles.
Get out of my office. Get out of here. Get out of here.
You get out of here.
Get out of here. Give me my phone and get out of here. Oh! Ow! Ow! Ow!
So fake.
Ow! She took my phone. I told her to get out of my shop, out of my office. Now she's slamming the door and twisting my foot.
That is so staged.
Ow!
You're not a good actor.
Okay, turn
I'm
it off.
not even in the picture.
Turn it off. You were in the picture, Miss Unger. In any event, it really is totally irrelevant. That case has already been adjudicated with the granting of an order of protection to Mr. Ponsford. Now let's get to the property that you say was either taken or destroyed. Tell me what property was either taken or destroyed.
All right, I have pictures. There were 6 vending massage chairs.
It's just six vending?
Commercial massage chairs.
And where were they?
They were in my storage unit that we brought to his house on August 29th.
Of what year?
2022.
We're now in 2024.
Yes, I had no resources. I had no money when I got out of jail. I had no money. I had no car. And
what? And you have no case. We're finished. Your property's abandoned. If you left property, it's abandoned. It's done.
I couldn't go back.
This is 2024. You couldn't go back. You had an order of protection that was for how long?
6
months. 6 months. We're 2 years later. And I'm telling you, you have no case.
He says
so
you're
a goodbye. So you're a goodbye. I have a counterclaim. I want to know if it's as ridiculous as her claim. Your counterclaim is from what year?
2022, Your Honor.
2022. Pay careful attention to me. Have you been incarcerated since 2022?
No, ma'am.
Have you been hospitalized for more than a week since 2022?
No, Your Honor.
Where have you been since 2022?
Living and working at my home.
Very good. Then you should have brought your counterclaim, which you could have acted as a claim, in 2022, correct? Just answer my question. That's why courts say you have to act within a period of time that's reasonable. 2 years is not reasonable. I say that to her with regard to the property she's fetching about, and I say the same to you. You have a problem with her damaging your property. You should have brought an action 2 years ago.
I dwelled on it for a while.
Well, dwell on my dismissal for a while. This case is over.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I planned on having a case for 2 years, putting it together, and, didn't get a chance.
This case was a great display of timeliness and why it matters, especially in courts. I think 2 years is a long time to wake up every single day and you still have the property damage every single day. And then you don't decide until one morning, maybe I should sue for that. And it takes up court's time. And not to say it's not important, but if it was that important to you, you would have sued in a timely, as you said, to the reasonable person, which in this case is you.
Well, it's unreasonable. You're putting the defendant in a position of having to respond to a cause of action without any specificity. And that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Case 3156, David versus McLean. All parties, please come forward.
Verona Davis is suing her son's friend, Leonard McLean, for a refund of catering services for her birthday party.
All right, Miss Davis, you were planning a birthday party.
Yes.
You were planning, and it was a big birthday party, and you hired the defendant to prepare the food for the party. Correct. And it is your claim in this lawsuit that he served bad food.
Correct.
Verona Davis claims her son's friend, Leonard McLean, owes for a refund of catering services after he served cold food during her 70th birthday party.
Okay, so the birthday party was when?
December the 16th, 2023.
How many people were there?
Approximately 60, 70 people.
Well, I need to know how many.
70 people.
So 70 people were being fed?
Yes.
And he charged you $1,800?
That's correct.
Or $25 a person?
Correct.
Correct?
No.
How much did you charge her?
$1,900.
Did she pay you the $1,900?
No, she paid $1,800.
So stay with it. $25 a person. Okay. And how many courses was he supposed to serve?
It was courses of fried chicken, baked chicken, codfish, roast beef, meatballs, tossed salad, potato salad, string beans.
Okay, that's a lot of food for $25 a person. Okay, and you had your birthday party, and you claimed that the food was bad. The fried chicken was not well cooked. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
The baked chicken?
The baked chicken was not well cooked either.
What about the roast beef?
The roast beef was raw.
Do you have any photographs for me?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
I'd like to see the photographs of the food that you're talking about. I don't see anything wrong with these pictures. I see you have circled a piece of fried chicken, and you have circled that it looks as if it was bloody inside.
Correct, Your Honor.
But there's nothing wrong with the other pictures you showed me. This doesn't do it for me.
Your Honor, if you see, it's pink in the middle.
I saw that. He acknowledges that. He said he took it off. When you showed it to him, you acknowledged that you saw that the fried chicken had red inside, and you took it off. That's either a yes or a no. That's what you say in your answer.
Yes.
Getting hungry and testy.
Sorry.
So just answer my question. Don't think about what I would like to hear or what's good for you. You say in your answer you took the fried chicken off because it wasn't prepared right.
Yes.
Okay. Did she complain about any other of the food to you?
No.
Okay. You didn't complain about any of the other food in your complaint either.
I complained after the party, Your Honor. We had a meeting. We had 3 meetings. I explained to him the chicken was half cooked. I have complaints from my guests.
Just a second. Can't tell me about complaints. The fried chicken, he acknowledges, was not cooked enough. Next. I looked at the other pictures. There's nothing wrong with the other pictures of the other food. Nothing. What do you want me to see in the other pictures? Look perfectly fine. You were feeding 70 people for $1,800. You never said anything was wrong with the baked chicken. You said there was something wrong with the fried chicken. So what did you have meetings about?
Your Honor, I complained about the baked chicken and the fried chicken after the party when I called Lenny up and showed him the chicken because he gave me a thumbs up. I said, come here, I need to show you something. When I showed it to him, he acknowledged that the chicken was half cooked. Also, the chicken was cold. Everything was cold. So when I told him that, he explained to me that his worker cooked the food, right? So I explained to him later on, the next day, because he sent me a text saying that he apologized for the food was bad and he apologized.
Oh, I'd like to see, just a second. If you have a text that he apologized to you because the food was bad, other than the fried chicken, which he acknowledges, I'd like to see it. Just a second.
Yes.
Just a second. Very nice. He says he apologizes for the fried chicken. That's it. He said, I need to truly apologize for the mishap with the fried chicken. He took responsibility for it, for the fried chicken. So people didn't eat the fried chicken.
Nobody ate the fried chicken.
Good. Nobody ate the fried chicken. Everybody ate. There were a lot of other things for them to eat. By the way, did you have a contract for $1,900?
Because she's a family friend, I didn't do a contract.
What kind of accommodation? Because she wants the full amount she paid for you. That is never going to happen. You served one dish that was not cooked.
Correct.
What kind of accommodation were you prepared to make?
I was willing to reimburse her for the price of the fried chicken.
And how much was that?
For 2 pans, it was $250.
For both?
Yes, $125 each.
Did he offer that to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You should have taken it. You had a party. People ate. If you don't like him as a caterer, don't use him again. He acknowledged he made a mistake. His chef undercooked, or whoever it was, undercooked the chicken. He was prepared to give you a substantial, based upon the whole number that you paid, accommodation of $250. I'm telling you, you should have taken it and run.
Ma'am, may I say something?
Say whatever you want.
Okay, Your
In
Honor.
30 seconds.
Okay, real quick. $250 he offered me plus an $800 food credit. So I explained to him, if you offer me an $800 food credit, why should I use your $800 food credit when you ruined my party? It was my 70th birthday party, and he humiliated me in front of all my friends, my family.
Let me explain something to you. I had several weddings, 2 or 3 of my own, a lot of weddings for my children, even a couple for my grandchildren. And every once in a while, there was a bad dish. But everybody ate and everybody celebrated because they were celebrating your birthday or a wedding. So don't give me tears because the fried chicken was bad. You should have taken the $250. Are you still prepared to offer her the $250?
Yes, minus the $100 that she still owed me.
Well, all I want to see is that she owed you the $100. She said $1,800. Show me the conversation where she was supposed to pay you $1,900, and I will certainly do that unless Miss Davis acknowledges that the bill was supposed to be $1,900.
You want to acknowledge that?
Just don't ask her.
I'm sorry.
I asked her. She understood me.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Do you acknowledge you were supposed to pay him $1,900?
I acknowledge I was going to pay $1,900.
And that you gave him $1,800?
I gave him $1,800.
Okay, so that I will give you the credit for the $100 she didn't pay you. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I'm happy with the decision.
Nobody didn't eat any food at that event.
I tried to offer her the money. We didn't have to go through this.
It was very disappointing. It was humiliating, and it was horrible.
These are things when people try to be greedy. This is what happens.
My 70th birthday party, and it was ruined.
You know, I really thought that defendant did everything he could to make it right. Sometimes things get undercooked and served. He was notified about it by her at the party. He pulled it away as soon as he heard, took accountability, said, I'm so sorry for this one dish out of many that didn't turn out how it should have, and I'm willing to give you this discount. Obviously, you don't have to pay for it. And I thought that was a pretty stand-up response. So I thought he did everything right, and I think the right thing happened in the end.
Me too. Your contract said you would perform for 3 hours. You left.
After being threatened by him and several of his drunk friends, yeah, we didn't want to play after that.
He's having a huge party. You didn't perform.
I rolled up to about 10 people. 5 of them were toddlers. There was nobody there.
I don't care if there were 2 toads and a lizard on the ranch.
This is Judy Justice. Singer Sophia Rolando is suing her former client, Ryan Birdwell, for breach of contract, car damages, and towing charges.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3176, Rolando versus Birdwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Birdwell, I'm going to start with you, sir. The case is relatively simple. The plaintiff says she was hired to perform at a function that you were putting on and that you didn't pay her. And the agreed price was $3,000. That's your claim. That's your claim.
Yes.
What do you hesitate for?
I hesitate because the price of the event was $1,500, but I'm also suing for damages and the tow truck that accrued moments after the incident.
Were you born here in California?
I was born in Wisconsin.
How long have you lived in California?
Almost my whole life, 25 years.
Well, counts for some of your nonsense. What kind of function was this, sir, and where was it being held?
It was being held in Boulevard, California, and the function was, it's an annual spring party we do up at a ranch we have called the Shreddy Ranch, and we hired her to perform.
No.
Sorry.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Sorry about that.
I asked you what kind of function it was.
It was an
annual function. And what was the date of the function?
I believe April 12th. I don't know. I'm not clear on the dates.
Well, find out. That's what you're supposed to know. You're a party to this action.
April 15th.
Of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were you having at the event?
About 150 people.
What time did the event start?
The event it's a 3-day event. It starts from Friday to Sunday.
And what day was the 15th of April?
Saturday.
Saturday night, so right in the middle. Do you serve food?
Yes, we have it catered on Saturday.
When you say we, who's we?
Well, me. I had the party catered.
Okay. Who is the host of this party?
I am.
You are. You paid for it?
Yes.
Okay, and you do this every year?
Every year. We actually just got done with our 3rd annual party just last weekend.
I have enough from you. Now, Ms. Rolando.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, the defendant saw you perform sometime in March.
Yes, March 18th, 2023, at the Ritz-Carlton Laguna Niguel.
And you're a singer?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I want you to tell me the exact conversation that you had with the defendant, because he came up to you after you sang, and he approached you about performing a month later at his event.
Yes.
I want you to tell me exactly what he said to you and exactly what you said to him.
Over text or the in-person conversation?
Well, he didn't speak to you in text the first time he spoke to you. He came back to see you.
Okay, my recollection is that he came up to me and told me that it was going to be his wife's 40th birthday party.
Just a sec. Did he say, I liked your singing?
Well, yes.
I want you to tell me exactly what he said to you.
All right. He said, I loved your performance. I'm throwing a big birthday bash from the 14th, 15th, and 16th of April. I would love to have you come on the 15th. It's going to be the biggest day with hundreds of people, famous people, drones and cameras, and you're so good. That's the day that I would like you there.
Great. So you understood that it was a big event.
I did understand that.
Great. And you said, fine. He must have said, how much do you charge?
Actually, there was a little bit of discussion in between that time because on the 15th, I was already scheduled to play a festival with my band on April 15th, 2023 at Kushstock Festival in Adelanto, California. That's very far from where Mr. Birdwell lives. And so I told him I have text evidence, before we ever signed any contract, I told him, I will not be there. I'm coming late. I'm probably leaving this festival by 5 o'clock. I will be there before 10. And you will get your 3 hours.
I would like to see that in a text.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is what the case is about.
I have those text messages.
The party started at 7.
Yeah, she was at the performance.
Party started at 7. He says you were supposed to be there from 7 to 10. When you got there, and that's a matter of dispute, it was well past 7. Another act was performing, an act that Mr. Birdwell had commissioned to perform from 10 to 1. So there would be continuous entertainment. When you got there, you found another act performing, and Mr. Birdwell said, well, you can perform stop playing, because you're not listening to me if you're playing.
I'm sorry.
Got to pay attention.
Yes.
Mr. Birdwell said, well, I already have this other act because you weren't here. You can perform from 10 to 1, and you said no, and you left. That's the case, right? That's the case.
Yes, that's the case.
So far, you're not losing. If you're not losing, I keep my mouth shut so far.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the case. Okay. Now, I would like to see first a contract.
Yes.
Do we have one?
I have one.
May I see it, please?
And in the contract, she never signed the contract.
You see, you always add something.
Sorry.
You always add something. Okay, so you contracted for $1,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
That is correct. And this says description 3 hours.
Yes. And I did.
Shh. Okay. And he sent this to you on March 21st.
Yes.
He sent it to you on March 21st. Well, it's dated March 21st. You didn't sign it.
Okay.
Singer Sophia Rolando claims her former client, Ryan Birdwell, breached their performance contract after Ryan and his friends threatened her during his party.
Now, you didn't sign it.
I did sign it. I'm not sure why he received an unsigned copy.
May I see your signed copy?
Yes, you may. Oh, thank you.
Well, now I have a signed copy with signatures on it.
Yes.
And this says 3 hours, doesn't specify the time.
Yes.
Is that right?
That was purposeful. Yes.
That was purposeful.
Yes.
Okay, so you were commissioned to sing for 3 hours, according to you, unspecified hours. Just a sec. That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Great. Now I'll see the text messages back and forth where you discuss time.
Okay.
Not okay. First text message, second text message with the dates.
Yes. So the...
Oh, don't say anything I can read.
Okay.
He says on March 19th, we would love to have you there to start playing at 7 p.m. on Saturday, 4/15. That's the last thing that this is here.
There's more.
That's March 19th. Next. And the next one that you hand me is April 15th. So between March 19th, you signed a contract for 3 hours, and the next communication that I have is April 13th. Excited for this weekend. Can't believe it's already here. Going to be awesome. Hey, Ryan, I just want to make sure there isn't a dress code, and my pianists know where whatever you want, people are going to be wearing whatever is on the ranch. Super fun. I'm coming from a weekend festival. I'm playing too, so I'll be wearing what I'll be playing there. Then I have the Saturday, April 15th at 10 of 12 in the morning. Hey, can you send me your address? Send that as soon as you can. Thanks. Oh, I actually got it. Sorry. All good. See you soon, and we'll hang out. We hope to be there for the downbeat 7, but we're pretty far away at this fest. But we're about to play, and we'll be out of here by 4. That's what you say to him, and you say that to him on April 15th. That's the first time, unless you have early...
I actually...
Well,
I gave you the wrong page. I'm so sorry.
I'm just reading this. You say, we hope to be there for downbeat at 7, which is when you were supposed to be there. So let's make that clear. Let's make that clear. You knew you were supposed to be there at 7 because you say, we hope to be there for... You mean you didn't write this?
I'm sorry, I did write that, but...
Pay attention.
Yes.
You wrote,
yes, Your Honor.
On the day of the event, we hope to be there for the downbeat at 7, but we're pretty far away from you at this fest we're about to play, but we'll be out of here by 4. We're gonna be there later than 7, but you'll have your 3 hours either way, and we'll keep you updated. 4:35 in the afternoon. And then on the 17th, I'm not interested. All right, you have things that you want me to read
I do.
before this.
Yes,
okay, but on
yes,
the
I do.
date of the event, 2 days before the event, you say, we'll be there at 7. Now, let me see the other thing.
Did not say that
Don't speak. Just give it to me. Nonsense. I don't want to see anything that happened before March 21st.
But that's kind of the most important part for me, because I told him before we ever signed the contract, I will not be there by 7 p.m.
Just a second. Hey. You're supposed to be a professional. He's having a huge party.
That's why I offered him a different date.
Don't speak.
I'm sorry.
Don't speak. You're suing him. You didn't perform. You're suing him. You didn't perform. You're a professional. He's have 150 people there. And you said, we're going to be late. We're leaving at 4, but we're going to be there after 7. Now, you're the professional. What did you expect to happen with 150 people there and the entertainment wasn't there? What did you expect to happen, Miss Professional?
Your Honor.
No, I'm asking you a question. Did you expect them to just go on with the party?
First of all, I expected...
That's what you expected.
I expected the party that I was promised. I rolled up to about 10 people. 5 of them were toddlers. There were no cameras, no drones. There was nobody there. I am a professional.
Just a second. Was there another group playing when you arrived? You swore to that.
Yes, and when I arrived...
You arrived, there was another group playing.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, which he...
There was another group playing. I don't care if there were 2 toads and a lizard on the ranch. There was another group playing for the 2 toads and a lizard, and the defendant and his wife. There was another group playing.
Yes.
What time did you get yourself there? Be very, very careful. There's a way to track it. What time did you get yourself there?
I was in the...
That's a time
okay,
that I was in.
8:40 p.m.
What?
Between 8:30 and 8:40 p.m.
Okay, so between 8:30 and 8:40, that's not 7:15.
That's because
don't speak. That's not 8:15. That's not 7:15.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I promised him I would not be there by 7 before we ever signed a contract, which is why I offered him 4:14, because I was completely free that day. I told him in text,
you
March 20th.
You think you're the only singer? You think you're the only singer in California?
No.
Just a second. You think, madam, I mean, I don't know where the headspace is here. They raise a bunch of babies here, and maybe if you're in the entertainment business, you're a double baby.
Singer Sophia Rolando has accused her former client, Ryan Birdwell, of breaching their contract after he threatened her for refusing to sing at a later time.
Somebody hires you for a function. You say, I'm totally free.
I told him I was busy that day.
Don't speak. I'm totally free on the 14th. Well, he didn't want you for the 14th. He wanted you on the 15th. A professional would say, I'm far away on the 15th.
I did tell him that.
Hey, don't speak. I'm far away on the 15th. I don't think I can do the 15th.
Exactly what I said.
I don't think I can do the 15th. So maybe we'll do it next year. Maybe we'll do it at another time. I have one other question. When you arrived at 8:45 and you saw the other group singing, because From what I gather, put your paper down. From what I gather, the group that was supposed to perform at 10 was there early.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had booked from 7 to 10 and then someone after, so there'd be continuous entertainment.
Exactly.
Now, when you arrived there, be very careful with your answer. Did the defendant say you can play from 10 to 1? Be very careful with your answer. Did the defendant say...
He actually had no idea who I was and said, I thought you canceled. That's what he said. He said, I thought you canceled. That's what he said.
I want you to answer my question. Did defendant say to you, you can sing with your band from 10 to 1? Be very careful what you say to me. Did he say you can perform from 10 to 1? That's either a yes or a no. Your silence, I would assume that he offered you 10 to 1.
After many threats, yes,
Just a
he
second.
offered that.
He offered you. What's wrong with you?
Sorry.
What is
I have a
wrong with
text
you?
where
Is this your wife who turned 40?
Yes, sorry. I have a text
My
where
sympathies.
she admitted that I asked her to play. Sorry, Your Honor.
I know that you
Just a second.
did. I haven't been able to say one thing of importance.
Just a second. Sir.
Sorry.
Is he always like this?
Yes.
Is he always like this? Okay, you must have other attributes that I don't see. Do you understand? Your contract said you would perform for 3 hours. If he wants you to perform from 10 to 1, you perform from 10 to 1. You left.
After being threatened by him and several of his drunk friends, and they were belligerent and threatening us like this, every time I said the word contract, he got even more pissed off and threatening us. Yeah, we didn't want to play after that. We also had work in the morning, and he knew I wouldn't arrive until after 8. We had a phone call before I ever signed this contract because I am a professional, and I knew I would never make it at 7 p.m. I told him before the phone call, I will come and play before 10 p.m. Me arriving there and having to wait an hour and a half is him breaching our contract.
Oh, you think so?
Yes, I know so.
No, you don't know so, madam. You don't know. So your contract is very, very clear. You can't have it both ways. You can't use, and I'm going to tell you, it's a nuanced part of contract. This is your contract. You gave me the signed contract. Any parole evidence outside parole, not written in the same form as this contract, which is signed on both sides, is inadmissible when it's a contract. This contract said you will sing for 3 hours. You didn't sing for 3 hours.
I felt very threatened, so I left.
Well, that's too bad. I'm sorry. That's why I'm talking about people raised in California. They feel threatened. This is my space.
He was a drunk. No, he was a drunk.
This is my space.
He was a drunk, and his friends were drunks as well.
You're interfering with my personal space. You signed
They were
a
drunk
contract.
and belligerent.
Listen,
and hovering over us.
Madam, you do not appear to be a shrinking violet to me. Most people are intimidated by me. You are not, which suggests to me that you weren't intimidated by somebody. Well, then maybe a little therapy will help. You signed the contract, 3 hours. You didn't perform. He gave you the opportunity to perform from 10 to 1. Your case is dismissed. Grow up.
This court is adjourned.
I feel that he breached the contract.
I fully agree with the judge's decision.
Because he hired another band 2 days before I got there.
I knew right away that that lady was out of her mind.
The contract was that upon arriving, I was going to start performing, not wait an hour and a half after I drove 5 hours and came on this day when I told him I had another day free.
She never performed once. We gave her every opportunity to perform.
But I told him I was coming from, basically across the state.
And honestly, I really wanted my chance to even go further into depth into how crazy that lady really is.
Him and 3 of his friends who approached me upon immediately being up there all drunk and big and huffing and puffing and cussing at me every time I said the word contract.
No, I did not witness that. He was talking to her, and he was confused because she was so late. He was like, who are you? Where did you come from? He had thought at that point she wasn't even going to show up.
It would be too soon if I ever had to see Ryan Birdwell again.
So then when we realized who she was, he said, go ahead and play. Play when they're done. And then she didn't like that answer and stormed out of there after that.
You know, I got a little shiver down my back when you talked about the parole evidence rule. I spent a lot of time on that in contracts. But it's for a reason. It's so that when you have 4 corners of a contract that's signed by both parties, that's either specific or non-specific to certain parameters, you can't just bring in extrinsic evidence to fill in what you want the contract to have said in the first place. So it's a good rule, one that I spent a lot of time learning and one that finally was useful today.
Contract said simply 3 hours, $1,500. There's no question that The text messages revealed that she was supposed to be there at 7 o'clock. She may have been a little late because she's coming from another gig. But she expected, when she got to the gig, to go on right away.
Yeah.
Well, another act had been filling in for them. That act was supposed to start at 10 o'clock, which means that if she went to work when she arrived, that means that he wouldn't have had music until the end of the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you get for showing up late. You got a good end of the deal. You could have held up the contract and could have performed, and you chose not to. You don't get to sue them for that.
Do you know what the cause is for that kind of thinking? It's the everybody gets a trophy mentality that somehow generationally has come about. When I was growing up, if you came in first, you got first prize. You got a trophy. Maybe even they had a second place. Then you have one for third place, one for most congenial, one for the best pair of socks, one for the most gracious outfit. So everybody gets a trophy. And the everybody gets a trophy mentality produces that kind of thinking. Her thinking, when I get there, I am the head soprano at the Met. You can't replace me. I'm the only singer in California, and I'm here. Get the other group off the stage. My group is here, and now that's my space. That's everybody gets a trophy. And if we continue to do everybody gets a trophy, the next generation is going to be worse. He gave you a dog.
Correct.
And then took the dog back.
Stole the dog back, yes.
I object. He was just watching the dog for me.
He had the dog for 4 months, feeding it, taking it to the vet.
Why would I give him a $10,000 dog?
I don't give a rat's behind.
Dog is good. It's my dog.
I don't give a rat's behind. Do you understand?
This is Judy Justice. Anthony Williams is suing his family friend, Michael Bowers, for stealing his French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello.
Case 3103, Williams versus Bowers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Williams, your case is a relatively simple one. It is your claim that Mr. Bowers, who you knew, gave you a dog.
Correct.
And then took the dog back.
Stole the dog back, yes.
Took the dog back and refuses to return him. It's a male dog.
Yes.
The defendant says you were just supposed to watch this dog temporarily because he breeds dogs and he and his family were moving and they moved into a place where they couldn't keep dogs, but then he could keep dogs. And he says right now he doesn't even have the dog, whose name is Gizmo, because he breeds dogs with a partner. And the dog has been at this partner's house for breeding for how long?
It's been a few months now, ever since I got the dog back from Anthony.
You have to know something. I know something about dog breeding. And I know that a male dog doesn't have to stay there during the course of an entire breeding of the 63 days that it takes to gestate a puppy. Because I know that you modified your answer, and your modified answer to his complaint is, I don't even have the dog, and I can't interrupt the breeding of the dog, which takes months, and that's baloney. So I want you to know that I know that's baloney.
Yes, Your Honor. We was breeding the dog with multiple dogs. So we have a boy dog, and we have 3 females. So we breeded with one, and it was like a process. We just kept them together. That's why they...
Now you're going to get them back. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your friend's name?
Logan Jean Pierre.
Sarah's going to find him. Telephone number.
I have it in my phone.
Get it. Get ready, Miss Rose.
Oh, it's gone.
All right. 678.
Now put the phone down. Now tell me where he lives, because he's your partner, so you have to know where he lives.
In Norcross, Georgia.
Okay. Sarah Rose.
Sure.
Where'd you go give this fellow a call?
Sure.
And find out what the status of Gizmo is.
Sure.
Okay, now I'm coming to you, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
So while Sarah's getting that information, this is what your case is about. According to you, he contacted you. He said, can you take care of this dog? Do you want this dog?
Yes.
We're moving and we can't keep the dog. You said yes. When did that happen?
He called me on April the 12th of 2023.
And you knew the dog. What kind of dog is it?
It's a French bulldog.
How much does it weigh?
I think when it's 28 pounds.
So that's called a Frenchie. They're small
Yes, a
dogs.
Frenchie.
They're Frenchie. They're small dogs.
Yes.
Do you have a photograph?
Yes.
May I see it? And you knew Mr. Bowers how?
He's a family friend.
I'm calling in regards to Michael Bowers and a dog.
How many dogs did you have on April 12th, 2023?
I have 2 dogs that I own myself.
Males or females?
Both of them are males.
And your partner, how many females does he have?
I don't really know. The last time I saw was 2 there.
When was the last time you went over there?
I was over there a couple of weeks ago.
Cute. How old is the dog?
He's 2 years old.
Okay. When, for the first time, did Mr. Bowers indicate to you that he wanted the dog back? He said he wanted the dog back for breeding.
That would have been in July, but he was only supposed to have the dog for 2 days.
Just a second. So for a full 4 months, you had the dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me what happened in July.
Can I go back a little bit before that? The defendant, when he delivered the dog to me, the dog was in bad condition. I had to bathe the dog. I had to take him to get his nails cut. He had no shots, so I had to spend hundreds of dollars taking him to the vet to get his shots, and I have the paperwork from the vet.
I have shots for the dog. The dog already had shots before he got there.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Also, Your Honor, I got extra shots for the dog because when I spoke to the vet for a French bulldog, since they have smashed in faces,
just 1 second.
You asked Mr. Bowers to take Gizmo then because you had the other male. How many female dogs do you have?
These are from 2021. The dog was just born in 2021.
That's the last shots that we had.
Those are puppy shots.
My business partner does the shots himself. He does a lot of...
You know, this is not going to fare well for you. I don't think. Not that I'm prejudging. Okay, so tell me what happened. So now you took care of the dog, cleaned the dog up, brought the shots up to date, and...
And also, he was a 2-year-old dog. When I got the dog, he was not housebroken at all to be a 2-year-old dog.
Okay, so it's clear if the dog wasn't housebroken, the dog was kept crated most of the time. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the person with whom Sarah is now commiserating on the phone, he also keeps the dog crated because the dog wasn't housebroken.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a yes.
The dog is for business purposes.
I don't care what the purposes are. I just want to know how long this 2-year-old little French bulldog is kept in a crate, is what I asked you. By the way, I have to get some stuff in here so that you understand how business this is. You come from Georgia, correct?
Yes.
And we flew you here.
Yes.
And I assume you want us to fly you back.
Yes.
And when you're here, you're going to get an appearance fee.
Yes.
And you want that, right?
Yes.
Good. And so we're going to listen to whatever I tell you, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Because otherwise, you may have to learn to love sunny California so you can earn a bus ticket to go home.
Nah.
Got it?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And you know, I don't say anything that I don't mean.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had the dog for 4 months, and then you called him. And what I gather is you wanted the paperwork for the dog.
What?
Just that's what you said. You wanted the paperwork for the dog because you wanted to breed the dog.
Yes.
And after that call, he said to you, I want to come over and pick up the dog because I want to breed the dog once more.
Correct.
And you let him come and take the dog.
Correct. He was supposed to have him for 2 days.
After the 2 days, did you have any communication with him?
Yes. Actually, the defendant sent me a text message on July the 21st that he wanted to come pick the dog up.
Okay.
He was supposed to have him for 2 days.
May I see the messages,
So in 2
please?
days, I sent him a text message saying, okay, are you bringing Gizmo back today?
Oh, he had a lot to say.
Okay, sit down for 1 second, Sarah.
Anthony Williams claims his family friend, Michael Bowers, refuses to return his French bulldog, Gizmo. Michael says Anthony watched the dog, but never owned him.
Before I read this, which clearly says, Morning, Mike, that's you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You still bringing Gizmo today. That's July 23rd. And then July 24th, he writes again, hey, Mike, you bringing Gizmo today? And then you answer him. And you say, no, they probably be done today, so I'll bring him tomorrow.
Yes.
Did you bring him?
No, the reason why I didn't bring him is not his dog to bring. He was just watching the dog for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let's hear about...
Yeah, so Logan had a lot to say. He is actually the papered owner of Stitch/Gizmo.
Yes.
And they purchased the dog in March of 21. They went 50-50 on the price, which was $5,000. They each paid $2,500 from a friend of Mr. Jean-Pierre's in New Jersey, but said that he was in his care for maybe a week or two. The reason that they were asking him to watch the dog is because Mr. Jean-Pierre had 5 dogs in his home, 3 females, and already had 1 male in the home with 3 females in heat. So to have 2 males in the house would have been a little rowdy. So they had the plaintiff take Gizmo for that period.
Is that what they told you?
I've never spoken to this other gentleman that she's spoken about, but when I spoke to the defendant,
go ahead.
He said that he felt comfortable with the plaintiff taking the dog when the defendant presented it to him. Seemed like a good enough guy, like he would take care of him, had a nice house.
And he is the registered owner?
Yes, he said he's the only one. He has his last name. He's the only one with the AKC papers.
Okay.
He believed he forwarded a picture of it to the defendant prior to coming here today.
Fine. So from what I gather, he has a $2,500 investment in this dog, plus whatever shots it was, and they've used the dog for breeding.
Oh, twice. I asked how many times they've bred him. He said twice.
Twice. So now I want you to do the following, Sarah. I'd like you to call him back.
Oh, great.
This is a unique situation because I can't resolve this with a third party. Would you ask him if he is made financially whole? Will he agree to allow Mr. Williams to take the dog, which will be used strictly as a pet? You prepared to do that? Otherwise, I may not be able to resolve this, sir. Do you understand?
That's why I'm suing. I do want the dog back.
Just
the
a
only
second.
thing is
Do you understand? Which means that you're going to have the dog neutered and he will be a pet.
Yes, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Find out.
And by financially whole, you're referring to the
$2,500 that he said he invested. I don't care about him.
Okay.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
If you give me an order and we go back to Atlanta and I have to pick the dog up, I don't trust that the defendant will hand over the dog.
You're going to get the dog from his partner.
Well, Your Honor, I have other text messages of the defendant promising to bring this dog back to me because, at this point...
I'd like to see them.
Yes, at this point, I'm a dog person and I love the dog.
No, I don't believe you, sir.
And
Why would I give him a $10,000 dog that could just get back to my car?
Just a second.
I
believe him. So you don't give a dog to somebody. You say, could you watch my dog for a week? And you have a partner. So if you have a partner and the living situation prevents you from keeping the dog, it's going to be for a longer period of time.
Excuse me, I have a lease that prevents me from having dogs.
I don't care if you have a lease or something from the Pope. It makes no difference. I believe you that you said you couldn't keep the dog for a while.
So that means I just give up ownership of the dog? Because
you never had ownership of the dog, sir. The dog belongs to somebody else.
Yes, I do. Me and him co-owns the dog.
He says that he owns the dog.
We co-own the dog. We got a business
good.
together.
That makes it even easier for me. May I have that, please?
That's the business license that we have together.
Yeah. You answer his question. Mike, you're going to bring Gizmo over. You're going to bring him back. Let me know. Please, you're coming back tomorrow. And you finally answer him. He is, but he is still with my friend right now. He's going to bring him back soon. The dog's just mated. And then Friday, August 18th, he says to you, what's up with Gizmo? Every day he's writing to you, what's up with Gizmo? When are you coming back with him? And you say to him, Friday, August 18th, yeah, I'm bringing him back before the weekend is over. Good, I miss him. How'd we do?
No dog. He does not wish to relinquish his rights to the dog. He thinks that even if the plaintiff is correct in his more monthly caring for the dog, as opposed to what he said, which was a few weeks, nothing compares to the years since March of 21 that this third party has owned the dog and cared for him and made him a part of his family. So he's not interested.
That's just it, Your Honor. They don't care for the dog. The dog is just left in cages. Like I said, at the time that I got the dog, I had to bathe him, take him to the vet, get his nails cut.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Mr. Bowers. Your partner says the dog has been with him for most of the time.
Between the two of them for most of the time, within the partnership of either Mr. Bowers or the third party.
Well, you can't be housebroken in one place and not be housebroken in another place. Either you keep the dog in a cage or you don't keep the dog in a cage or a crate.
Me personally, when he's with me, I don't have him in a cage. I don't believe in cages.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You just told me you
that's
did.
Not true.
Whitney, can you go back? I thought he said, when I asked him about crate, do you keep the dog in a crate?
He might sleep in a crate, but he's not there all day long.
The dog wasn't housebroken, sir.
The dog was housebroken. You just taking his word for it. The dog was housebroken. It was at my house all the time.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Just a minute. You said at the beginning the word was crate, not cage, crate.
He did seem to care for the dog, and even when I mentioned the $2,500 and making him whole financially, he did not seem to waver in the slightest.
The plaintiff said he is not housebroken at all to be a 2-year-old dog. You said, so it's clear that the dog wasn't housebroken. The dog was kept crated most of the time. The defendant said, yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Anthony Williams is accusing his family friend, Michael Bowers, of stealing his French bulldog, Gizmo. Michael claims he only asked Anthony to temporarily watch Gizmo.
Mr. Williams,
yes,
this is my conundrum. I'm prepared to rule today, and I'm taking at face value the fact that he and his partner co-own the dog. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot order the partner to relinquish the dog to you. I have no control. If I had the partner under my jurisdiction, if you had in fact sued the partner, I may be able to, but I can only rule on his ownership of the dog, which I am prepared to do today.
This is the first that I'm hearing about the co-owner.
partner.
I thought that, right.
I assume that this is the first you're hearing about.
Right, and for me, I feel like for me to be made whole, of course I would want the dog back. Like I said, I don't trust him in giving it back, but I feel like the only way that I can be made whole is for him to pay to get me another dog if I do not get Gizmo back.
No, you're going to be made whole by paying all of your bills for the time that you had the dog. Because you did that with the understanding from him that the dog was going to be yours. So economically, you'll be made whole. Now, emotionally, if you can't be made whole because you're not going to get the dog back, I can't order the dog back from the legal owner. But he has to hurt some.
He don't have any proof that I said he had the dog.
Mr. Bowers, I think you better quit while you're ahead, sir. You acknowledge the fact you did that he had the dog for 4 months. Do you want me to read that back to you?
Because my lease agreement does not allow me to have dogs.
I don't give a rat's behind about your lease agreement or any of your personal problems. Do you understand? If there was, in fact, a misunderstanding between the two of you, he suffered by treating the dog as his own, feeding it, taking it to the vet, having it groomed, and because of your misrepresentation, he's going to be made whole. Now, you can make your case to a judge locally, where you come from in Georgia, why you should have this dog, but I can't make a decision without having somebody here who is the titled owner of a property. Now, I want you to tell me, sir, what your vet bills were.
I think you...
Yeah. Maybe I know.
Have that paper. Your Honor, is there anything because this case was like very emotional. I had to take off work from this, and I do have paperwork from my doctor, because I was worried about the dog.
The dog is good. It's my dog.
But he wasn't good when you gave it to me.
He was up to date with everything.
He was up to date on the shots, but
I'm looking for something here in your paperwork. I have 368, 257.
Your Honor, and I also have paperwork of everything. I bought the dog off of Amazon, his monthly flea and tick, everything. I have all that.
Must be at least $1,000 there.
If not more that I've spent.
Okay. Well, I'm adding up the vet bills now. The vet bills now also total very close to $1,000.
Can I say one other thing, Your Honor?
Sure.
Before you proceed? You know, even if I was not to get Gizmo back, I still would want animal control to go over to this address because the defendant showed me videos.
That's very, very easy, sir.
The defendant showed me videos of the conditions that the dog are staying in. And when I seen the videos, there were cages in someone's garage of dogs stacked on each other. So they're not taking care.
Why wouldn't you do that before?
I didn't know the address.
We'll do that.
Okay. Once you get animal control, Sarah will be more than happy to get on and indicate to animal control that in addition to you, I would like to see a report.
Okay.
If animal control takes any of these dogs, what I am going to indicate is that the American Kennel Club should add your name as co-owner of the dog. That will prevent his partner, hopefully, that I've made this adjudication. Your name is to be added as co-owner, which means he can't sell these puppies without your permission. Do you understand?
Yes.
Tell that to your partner. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. In any event, we're going to issue that order to the American Kennel Club if that's where they're registered. I'm awarding you $2,500 in your lawsuit against the plaintiff, which covers all of your expenses, and $500 for your aggravation in bringing you here. It is absolutely appalling to me when I have a vision of these adorable little creatures that have no life at all except to breed and are kept in such a way. If it's true.
Well, may I say, he said I could be late. I called him first when I was in Kentucky.
And you called him and told him that you were going to be late?
He texted me on the first.
Why?
He said, yeah.
On the first, where's my money?
My aunt and my mom went to the cabin. I called him and told him about where I was. And I did say in the phone call, I did say that I would.
You called him and told him that you were going to be late?
He texted me on the first. I would have my aunt send
on the first, where's my money?
And I said, he just said, yeah, it would work best for me if I paid him in cash when I got back into town in a few days. I did say in the phone call, I did say that I would, when you get back into town. If he was upset and wanted to be paid today,
okay, and when did you get back into town?
I got back into town November 2nd, November 3rd for me, and I paid him in cash when I got back into town in a few days. I woke up on 3rd
and what did he
around 1
say?
p.m. He said, call me when you get back into town. I was in my pajamas. That was all that was in the phone call.
Okay, and when did you get back into town?
I'd woken up, and as I woke up, I went to the living room, and I saw Garrett was in the driveway with his another motorcycle. 3rd around 1 p.m. He was walking up to the door. As I woke up, since I saw him, I went to the front door to answer. I answered the door, and I'd woken up, and as I woke up, I went to the living room, and
very slowly, Mr. Shires, you answered the door.
And he asked me if I would like to go riding. Since I saw him, I went to the front door where my motorcycle was. I answered the door, and
let's go very carefully and very slowly, Mr. Shires. You answered the door.
So I answered the door, and he asked me if I would like to go riding. It was just sitting there. Because so what it is, my keys were on some keys that got the motorcycle was. So they totaled this car, and the keys were stuck up in Columbus, and so I didn't go riding.
What was it doing at your work?
It was just sitting there. Because so what it is, my keys
go through that slowly again.
We're on some keys that got totaled, and so they totaled this car and moved the keys to Columbus.
Claims his former friend, Garrett Baker, owes for the cost of a motorcycle after he wrongfully repossessed it. Garrett is countersuing, claiming Lucas damaged the motorcycle. Lucas Shires
the key to the motorcycle
was on my
Garrett
car
Baker owes for the cost of a motorcycle after he wrongfully repossessed
it. They moved the car to
Garrett is countersuing, claiming Lucas damaged the motorcycle.
Asked me if I wanted to get my keys off the total on my car keys. So they were stuck up at Columbus for a week until I could go get them. The car got totaled.
Did you tell that to Mr. Baker?
They moved the car to Columbus.
That you didn't have keys to it and the bike was sitting at your workplace.
Asked me if I wanted to get my keys in person and over text cars keys. So they were stuck up at Columbus for a week until I could go get them.
Did you tell that to Mr. Baker?
Yes.
That you didn't have keys to it and the bike was sitting at your workplace?
Yes, I told them that in person and over text.
On what date, sir, did you repossess the bike?
November 3rd, ma'am.
Now, I would like to see the photographs that you say were damaged, because at this point, you owe him $2,000. On what date, sir, did you repossess the bike? You think is
November 3rd, ma'am.
I have no idea what these pictures are. I would like to see the photographs. There is no way I have any idea what these pictures are. At this point,
that's the side of the motorcycle, all scratched up. I think I do.
I have no idea what this is. Can I see a picture? You think is irrelevant. Did you take a picture? I have no idea what
those were the pictures I took. I could show you off my cell phone.
There is no way I have any idea what these pictures are. I would like to see the whole bike.
That's the side of the motorcycle, all scratched up.
I have no idea what this is. Can I see a picture? I'll see your picture. Did you take a picture on your
those
whole
were
bike?
the pictures I took. I could show you off my cell phone.
That's what I want. I would like to see the whole bike. Do you have a picture of the whole bike?
I have a picture of a bike from when I had it.
Now, do you have a picture of the whole bike? I'll see your picture and I'll see his. This is the day you got it, or when?
They're spread. The middle photo is the day I got it. The bottom and top are within that month,
now,
probably
do you
a couple
have a
weeks
picture
after.
of the whole bike, sir?
Video.
This is the day you got it? I'll take a look and see if there's a useless.
They're
I would assume that you have a picture of the whole bike to show me
the bottom
damage.
and top are
I have no idea
within
what that
that
is.
month, probably a couple weeks after.
Okay.
I have a video. I could show you. It's half of the bike.
I'll take a look and see if there's a useless. I would assume that you have a picture of the whole bike to show me damage.
Everything that was damaged up close that you could see way more clearly.
No, that doesn't help me at all. There is a picture here of the Kawasaki bike. That looks
I also
just
have
fine.
individual
you didn't know what you
pictures
were
in
showing
there
me.
of everything that was damaged up close that you could see way more clearly. It wasn't like
the bike is there, it's intact. There is a picture here. You're showing me tires and broken pieces. I don't know what you're showing. It looks just fine. You didn't know what you were showing me.
I feel like I should at least
You're
get
showing me a lot
reimbursed
of
for
junk,
that
but the
because I
bike is
feel
there,
like
it's intact.
it would be the right thing to do, honestly.
The bike is there, it's intact. You can't go and take his bike. He's 2 days late. He's already given you $2,000 purchase price. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000.
For that because I feel like it would be the right thing to do, honestly.
I don't care what you feel. You can't go and take his bike if he's 2 days late. And he's
I feel
already
like I should
given
have
you
been
2/3 of the
reimbursed for the
purchase
damages
price.
on the motorcycle. I did legally repossess it.
I'm happy with what happened today. I'm so glad I was able to get my money back because, I mean, I really needed the vehicle at the time, and I felt like it was all thrown away. I
feel pretty disappointed. I feel like I should have been reimbursed for the damages on the motorcycle. I did legally repossess it.
I'm
Just
happy
a
with
bunch of little things were
I'm
messed
so
up
glad I
with
was
it.
able to get my money back. No, there was no damage. When I was on my work, it was perfectly fine underneath that cover.
Probably not scratches all over it. Handlebars were bent. The tires needed new tires. And the headers were bent. Just a bunch of little things were messed up with it.
I did want to watch the bike. No, there was no damage. When I was on my work, it was perfectly fine underneath that cover.
Probably not riding together or talking anymore.
Our friendship was ruined whenever you stole the bike back. I mean, after I bought the bike,
into it a lot this season.
And I mean, if there was damages, I would have wanted the bike back in full. I would have wanted to pay for it still.
And there had to be, sadly, the only thing I'm taking reasonable, I took away from this case was the GoFundMe page. Thoughtful.
We run into it a lot this
starting
season
a
with the
GoFundMe page.
GoFundMe pages.
Just the people who are really in distress, maybe, and that's the only avenue to get some money to help reasonable, but it's with anything that's good. People will always find a way to scam it. And starting a GoFundMe page. You know what it does, Sarah? You know, people who are really in distress, maybe, and that's the only avenue to get some money to help. Goodwill say, but it's with anything that's all of this stuff. People will send them $50 to scam it. I'll send them $10.
But knowing that there's no guarantee of what that money is going to be used for. People want to
do it of a generous nature. I can't believe how generous people there are in this country. I'll send them not rich people $10.
But knowing that there's no guarantee of what that money is going to be used for. No, but they really think they're giving to a good cause, something
that's necessary.
The description and the GoFundMe pulls at their heartstrings or something. And then you find out he went and bought a motorcycle instead.
Or went on a vacation to the
Bahamas. But they really think they're giving to a good cause, something really
that's necessary.
The description and the GoFundMe pulls at their heartstrings or something. And then you find out he went and bought a motorcycle instead.
Or went on a vacation to the Bahamas. Or didn't really have cancer.
Sure.
Or it's
a slippery slope.
Just such a shame that there are so many evil people who will take advantage of a good thing. You witnessed your father physically abusing your mother.
Yes. Never. My dad pushed my mother to the floor. In addition, had also thrown objects at my mom before. He did, threaten her. She attacked me.
Were you ever served with a protective order? That's either a yes or a no.
This is Judy Justice. Hector Diaz is suing his niece-in-law, Blanca Padilla, for the value of a GoFundMe fundraiser and defamation.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3162, Diaz versus Padilla.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Diaz, I assume that this is your soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yes.
That lady sitting over there. And who was the young man with her?
Our son.
And this is the niece of your soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yes.
And your complaint is you're in the process of going through a divorce. It's not as easy as one would hope, and that your wife's niece decided to do a GoFundMe page for her aunt to help her pay for lawyers' fees and living expenses because you were not a nice person. And that she said things in the GoFundMe page that were defamatory. And you want her to pay for that.
Yes.
That's what the case is about. So let me get some preliminary information from you, Mr. Diaz. When were you and your wife married? What year?
November 28 of 1998.
And when did you separate?
1/25 of 2022.
You have children?
Yes.
How many? 2?
Yeah.
You had to think about that.
Yeah, 2. But what I'm thinking about is the time we separated. I think it was 2023, sorry.
You left the house?
Yes, I went to Hubbard House.
Okay. Now I'd like to see the GoFundMe page that Ms. Padilla created. And Ms. Padilla, you do not deny that you created the GoFundMe page.
I do not deny. I did create it.
Just a second. You did create it and you wrote it.
Yes.
And people donated money based on what you wrote.
Correct.
How much?
As of today, the total is $7,158.
Okay. And Ms. Padilla, I assume that you gave the plaintiff's wife that money.
Correct.
Just a second. Is that correct, or is there a caveat in there?
There is a caveat.
Let's have the caveat.
All the expenses were paid towards her mortgage and utilities directly or through a third party.
What third party?
Teresa Seamus.
Who is that?
She's a friend of the family.
Okay, so money was given to her to pay the bills directly?
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to read it out loud. It is with humble hearts that we reach out to you today for help in a situation involving our beloved Aunt Blanca. For 24 years, she has suffered in silence about her abusive marriage. During those years, she has endured psychological, emotional, spiritual, and physical abuse. She was belittled, insulted, manipulated, threatened, assaulted, controlled, and kept in the dark about all family finances. After several terrifying events, Blanca found the strength to finally speak up and seek help. She went to court and was awarded a restraining order against him and was able to return to her home. Her husband has become even more dangerous as has completely abandoned his responsibilities as a father and a husband. He has emptied all of their life savings, retirement accounts, bank accounts, and has maxed out most of their credit cards. He has fraudulently opened accounts in her name, as well as the kids, to ruin their credit and ability to obtain funds. Not only has he left them without any money and ruined them financially, but he has also gone as far as repossessed her car, shut off all of her utilities in the house, and closed most credit cards she had access to for food. He has threatened to stop paying the mortgage and leave them homeless. He continues to go on luxury shopping sprees, buying cars, a motorcycle, lavish vacations. Blanca has serious health issues, relies on medication and ongoing medical care. Her daughter suffers from life-threatening asthma, needs her medication as well. Her husband has violated his restraining order on several times without consequences. Both Blanca and her daughters are in constant fear for their lives. He has gone as far as saying she needs mental help and claims she's erratic and is a danger to her daughter. Everyone close to her in this situation knows this is far from the truth. Blanca and her daughter need protection and legal help to proceed with a divorce to keep him away. We ask for your financial help, and I write with great appreciation. Thank you all. And then on March 18th, you wrote again, I would like to inform everyone that I am being sued for the funds that were raised. I'm being accused of defamation of character and a fraudulent GoFundMe page. The same person who continues to remain nameless, well, that's not true, would like to receive the funds that were raised for his family. The hearing will be held next week. What makes you think the same person who continues to remain nameless, what does that mean?
I didn't mention his name in the GoFundMe.
That's not a possible defense. You have to understand that. That is not a possible defense, that because you didn't put in his name, that he cannot be identified. You do understand that?
I do understand
that. All right, so let's go back. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Hector Diaz claims his niece-in-law, Blanca Padilla, defamed him online by creating a GoFundMe fundraiser with false information.
Now, I want you to show me proof that he has opened up accounts in her name and the children's names. I want you to show me that he has opened accounts after they separated, which was January 25th, 2023, in her name and the children's names. I want you to do it.
I don't have that evidence. I don't have evidence.
Then you're guilty, madam. Just a second. Then you're guilty. Do you understand? I'm going to pick out things here and ask you that do you have proof that he opened up accounts in your name or your name?
Not after January.
After January 25th, 2023.
Not after January 25th.
Then you're guilty. Because if accounts were open while they were together and while they're married, I'm not taking statements as to whether he had their consent. People do things when they're in a married situation. So do you have an account that he opened after January 25th, 2023? If the answer is yes, you can stand.
He had it still open and active after that, but he did not open it after 2023.
Then I'm not interested. What happened in your family prior to the separation of your family is within your family, and I'm not getting into your finances within your family. Right now, she says he has fraudulently opened accounts in her name as well as their kids to obtain credit funds. Wrong, guilty. See what happens when you butt into somebody else's business that you're supposed to stay out of?
But Your Honor.
Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
This has nothing to do with you. This has to do with you.
That's
what
correct.
you can prove to me. I'm not finished with this stick. Just a second. I'm going through line by line.
Okay.
I would like you to show me, or if you have them from the plaintiff's wife, any medical records describing physical abuse that she alleges happened at the hand of her husband. Do you have any?
I don't have medical records.
Doctor's reports?
No, I don't have medical records.
Here we go. Do you have any proof that the plaintiff violated a restraining order that is in place against him?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
So I have the arrest.
No. I just want to see. There's a protective order.
There's an injunction, yes.
There's a protective order.
And these are the police reports, the arrest warrant.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. And I have the injunction as well.
Okay, so you appeared before a judge in December of 2023?
Yes.
Were you ever served with a protective order? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Okay. Did you go to court on that protective order?
No.
Did you have a hearing with regard to that protective order?
No.
Is there a final order of protection?
Yes, but without me appearing to the hearing.
So you just defaulted and didn't appear. Is that what you're saying to me?
I had dismissed her injunction because she attacked me. And she had her first injunction, and I was in the house the first time. I dismissed all her charges, and she retaliated by opening up a false injunction against me, which I thought I didn't have to go to court because mines were set. I didn't have to appear in court I dismissed her injunction. I did not know that she had opened one against me.
When had you filed one protective
order? On the
order?
25th, when it happened, the attacks, on the 20th and 25th, the police was called. They analyzed the whole situation, and they ended up arresting her.
How long were you incarcerated?
2 days. May I speak?
Not yet.
Okay.
So you understand that there is a protective order against you that was issued on default?
On default because she admitted things that weren't true.
It was issued on default because you weren't there.
Because I wasn't there, yeah.
You understand that?
I understand that, yeah. And I'm wearing an ankle bracelet right now for that. It took me a lot to get here.
It took what?
For 8 months, I've been wearing an ankle bracelet because of that injunction that I violated, supposedly.
That part, then, is true. Mm-hmm. Her husband has violated his restraining order on several occasions without consequences, with the exception of an ankle bracelet, which is a consequence. Mm-hmm. So you're home free on that. Okay. Now you wanted to say something?
Yes. I want to say that on January 26th, I went to the Hubbard House, which is a domestic shelter.
I want to hear what happened before that. Was that before or after your arrest?
This was before. And so on January 26th, I went to the court and applied for a temporary injunction, which is an order of protection. He was served on February 1st. In retaliation, he went to the police and he had me arrested February 2nd under false charges.
What did he allege in the action that he filed against you, that they arrested you? You had to have known.
There were scratches, which he alleges, and I have photos of the scratches. He says that she, yes.
And he alleged that she scratched you.
Yes.
Okay, have a seat. Okay, so the GoFundMe page has 2 problems. One is physical abuse, of which you have no proof other than her statement.
And
my
Brandon's.
And have you ever been arrested for physically abusing your wife?
Never.
So you're basing the physical abuse on statements that your aunt made to you.
Brandon.
And as well
Brandon
as me,
was
Your
the
Honor,
person that
because
told
I
me.
grew up-
This is not a shout out.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Hector Diaz has accused his niece-in-law, Blanca Padilla, of defaming him online after she created a GoFundMe fundraiser with false information.
You're basing this statement on statements that the plaintiff's son told you.
Correct.
About. Stand. You're Brandon.
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Thank you, Your
And you've indicated that you witnessed your father physically abusing your mother.
Yes.
Have you ever witnessed your mother physically abusing your father?
No, I have not.
Okay. Tell me when the act or acts of physical abuse took place and what you observed. Date, year, month.
Around 2019 or 2018, 2019, my parents, who continuously had very intense and abrasive fights that were very detrimental to me and my sister. One day it got really intense, and my dad pushed my mother to the floor. And I know that my father, in addition, had also thrown objects at my mom before I had seen. They didn't hit her, but he did threaten her. I have very vivid images of that. And
very good. You can sit down. No. No. Okay. There are probably some things in your GoFundMe page that are accurate. I probably would believe that during the course of this acrimonious separation, and they've clearly had fights, which according to your witness were intense between both of them. Now, you didn't say just his father. He said they were intense fights. That being said, I believe that he emptied the bank accounts. I believe that he cut off our credit cards. That's what people do when they get separated and it's acrimonious. That's what happens. And you can put that in here because that's true. You can't put in things that aren't true. And you put in things here that aren't true, and that's defamatory. You can't do that. In any event, you should have kept your nose out of other people's business.
I wasn't going to let her drown. When he left her and he tried to destroy her.
Just a second.
I did
Listen to
everything
me.
in my ability
You're trying to
help.
talk over me. You can help. You cannot say things on a public forum disparaging someone else with stuff that you can't prove. And you can't prove that he fraudulently, after the separation, opened up bank accounts in her name and the children's name in an attempt to ruin their credit. You can't prove that. Mm-hmm. This is defamatory. You're accusing him of fraud, and you can't prove it. Okay. So that was not true, Mr. Diaz, what she wrote about you, or that she has no proof of it, that you opened up credit cards. The rest of it, fair game in this GoFundMe page. She can say that you were overbearing. She can say that her aunt was afraid of you. She can say that you stopped paying the mortgage. She can say that you closed out her credit cards. Did you do all those things, by the way?
No.
Did you stop paying the mortgage?
No.
I have proof.
Just a second.
No, ma'am. I've been living away from my home for now up to a year.
Yes.
I put the house on a forbearance. I've been paying $1,700 for rent to live outside since May.
I want you to listen to my question very carefully, and let's not be slippery.
Okay.
I asked you if you stopped paying the mortgage.
No.
You've been paying the mortgage every month. She's going to show me. I don't want to know that you've been paying someplace else to live and you stopped paying. That's a reason. I'm just asking you a question. I expect an answer.
Okay, so
did you pay the mortgage?
I paid up until I left the house. When I left the house...
Well, that was in January of 2023.
I had to call in. I said I was no longer employed, and I had to put the house on forbearance.
Okay, fine. So the answer is you stopped paying the mortgage. Okay. The only thing that she wrote here that she has no proof of, which is a crime, is opening up credit cards in somebody else's name. And when you do that, and it's after parties have separated, and if you do it for the purposes of ruining their prospective credit, well, that's a crime. And she has no proof of that.
Never done that.
Okay.
I try to resolve this GoFundMe page amicably with her. These are her responses.
I don't care what her responses
Okay.
were, sir. Actually, she's not allowed to say anything that's untrue, accusing you of committing a crime on her GoFundMe page. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Next time, I'm going to suggest to everybody else they stay out of other people's business.
Esther, yeah, she's very inflammatory in her emails, in her fake postings.
I was going to allow my family to be ruined financially and legally. I was going to stand up and do the right thing for them. I don't think what I did was incorrect. And just because I didn't have the evidence with me today doesn't mean he didn't do that.
It got messy because she claims her allegations that I went and wrote her emails, wrote her text messages after there was a no contact order. So she used all that evidence to keep me away from my children.
Just because you're married doesn't mean you can't do a police report. Just because you're married doesn't mean this is right, and defend yourself.
You know, we're still the same entity because we're still married, but once, you know, we're divorced, then it'll be, you know, it'll be more better relationship.
That's it. I'll always defend my family.
I believe a lot of the things that are in that GoFundMe post probably accurate. He did, in fact, stop paying the mortgage for whatever reason. There's indication that he, at least in some of the notes, that he was, in fact, incarcerated for something. He's wearing an ankle bracelet, which is probably a pretty serious incident because most of this stuff is about stalking. Yeah. But when you post something for public consumption, and if something is not accurate, and if it's a crime or call somebody's reputation into serious dispute, although I don't know much about his reputation, you can't do that. You know, and it is possible that during the course of their marriage, several bank accounts were open, several credit cards were open, and let's say they maxed out all those credit cards, and she was one of the holders of those credit cards. You maxed out the credit cards, and if the time is afterwards and he's committed a fraud, now he's separated and he's divorcing. So he knows whatever he does now is not for the benefit of the family. That's what she claimed. And that's not true. And you can't do that. So my best advice is stay out of other people's divorces.
He's suing his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, for unpaid demolition work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2115, Attar versus Rose.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Attar, you were hired to do some, according to you, demolition work and other work at a property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. You gave them an estimate for that work. I think the estimate was $11,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was outlined what work you were supposed to do. You started that work, and according to you, at some point there was disagreement with either or both of the Rhodeses, and they stopped payment on a check that they gave you. And the check that they gave you was for $4,200. And then you stopped work for them.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you're suing them for the canceled check and for other unpaid work that you did that you didn't get paid for.
Correct.
Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes say that they were not satisfied with the quality of your work. It cost them $9,000 to both replace things that were stolen from their property by either you or members of your team, something which I don't think that you question, that somebody from your team, not you, somebody from your team may have taken metal property of theirs that they didn't own. So let's go back. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes, is this a new property to you, or is this a property that you owned for a while?
It's a new property to us.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So is it a private house?
Yes, and we were remodeling it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
We purchased in January of 2021.
Is it a single-family residence?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
$769,000.
Describe the property to me.
It's in northern Altaloma or Rancho Cucamonga. It's an acre property, has 2 levels on it. and a single-family ranch-style home on it right now. And what we asked him to do was demolition the lower half.
Do you have a photograph?
I do.
I'd like to look at the photograph of what you wanted him to do.
That's what the lower half looked like before.
So this whole portion you wanted him to demolish and remove the debris.
And grade flat.
Is that correct, sir?
I can't see from here, man.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show it to you. To demolish it, flatten it, fill it in.
Remove all the debris.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a written contract?
We did not.
Well, that's always a mistake.
Always.
How did you find him?
I believe I got his business card. It was on my personal car, I think at Home Depot. We had bought this house and we tried to find somebody to do the work, but...
Mr. Rhodes, let me tell you that the best way to find somebody is not somebody who leaves a card on your car at Home Depot or any place else.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time to find contractors with COVID and everything at that time.
And at the time, I'm also going to add, because I read in the paper somewhere at the time, he didn't have a license.
He did not.
And you knew he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I told him, Your Honor.
Just a second. They didn't say no, we didn't know. They said we knew. So you got somebody who had no license to do what you wanted him to do, and you got his number from a card that he left on your windshield. Did you ask for references? That's either a yes or a no.
No, and I'm not really sure actually 100% on where I found that card. I think
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he did tell us he was in the process of getting his license, that it was coming.
Yeah. I know.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're two intelligent people. Okay. So you hired an unlicensed contractor to do work on your house and agreed to pay him $11,500. Now, Mr. Rattar, the $11,000 included labor and materials. Is that correct?
There was no material. It was labor and bins.
Well, that's material. Labor and bins to remove
Yes, ma'am.
all the equipment that you needed
Yes, ma'am.
to complete the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Of before, too, of what I was supposed to do, and I took a picture.
Well, no, I have that.
You have the wrong picture, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see the picture that he has.
I was supposed to do from the post all the way to the other post, remove everything, and the pool and the deck.
Mr. Rattar, the $11,500 was an all-inclusive figure.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that became an issue is a bobcat.
Correct.
From what I'm piecing together, you hired somebody in a bobcat to do a bobcat. That's a big piece of equipment that knocks down something.
I rented a bobcat.
And somebody who operated it.
My worker.
You didn't know how to operate the bobcat.
I know how to operate bobcat, but I was controlling the demolition site, ma'am. I was like many things were going at the same time. I had to control everything.
Mr. Rattar, something happened with the bobcat, the original one that you got. What happened with it?
It broke down on us.
No, it didn't break down on them. It broke down on you.
On us.
It broke down on you.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I took it back, and next day they're supposed to deliver me another one, but they sent me a drunk driver and another broken down bobcat. I returned it. At that moment, I asked Mrs. Rhodes, can you please go down Home Depot, which is like a mile away, so we don't stop wasting time, rent a bobcat.
Just a second. Why should she rent a bobcat, sir? Your $11,500 included the bobcat.
But I was paid for it.
No. If you're going to pay for it, that's one thing. Then what are you sending her for? If your $11,500 figure included all materials, then she doesn't have to rent a bobcat. If you rented one that didn't work, rent one that works. How much of a down payment did they give you?
Presume was $4,000.
When did you start the job?
I started the job on 15th of January.
When did you leave the job?
I was asked to leave on the 2nd of February.
On February 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Not to go back, I will call the cops on you.
Between January 15th and February 2nd, other than the $4,000, did they give you any other money?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
How much money did they give you?
They gave me up to $7,000.
So they gave you an additional $3,000?
Yes, and $1,000 check.
Your Honor, that was within the first week we gave him.
It doesn't matter to me. My question was between January 15th and February 2nd, they gave you $7,000.
Correct.
Explain the other $4,200, which is the check that they stopped payment on?
Okay. I'll happily explain to you. The Bobcat she rented for me on her behalf, it cost $329 to rent per day. And I rented for 1 day only, but they charged me $800.
No, that's not correct.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
Claims his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, owe for unpaid demolition work. Mary and Michael are countersuing for lost wages, equipment rental, and missing property.
Now, they paid you $7,000.
Correct.
They wrote you another check.
The final check was supposed to be $5,000, but they only gave me $4,200 because they mined $800 for the Bobcat rental.
Just a second. First of all, the total bill wasn't $7,000 and $5,000. $7,000 and $5,000, even my rudimentary math, is $12,000. That would be $500 more than your agreed contract, which was for $11,500.
They gave me $6,500 because they gave me small checks. They gave me the first initial
Just
check,
a second.
They gave me smaller ones.
Sir, you're the businessman, whether you have a license or not. I asked you before how much money did they give you between January 15th and February 2nd, and you said $7,000.
I didn't write it down, Your Honor.
Well, you're here asking for money, and you have to write it down. You have to have some
work I've done performed already. And
No, sir.
And I just did the job, Your Honor. I did 7, 8 other side jobs.
I don't care whether you did 7 or 8 side jobs. Your original agreement with them was for $11,500, including all material. Now, what you said to me was that they gave you $7,000, and you said they're supposed to give me another $5,000. Well, another $5,000 is more than your quote.
Ma'am, the balance was $5,000.
How?
The initial check, then they gave me $1,000, $1,000.
How much money did you give them all together that he cashed?
$7,000.
Then they owed you $4,500 pursuant to your agreement.
We agreed to $11,000, not $11,500.
$11,500, Your Honor.
Anybody have any proof of what the agreed amount was?
We had a verbal contract with me, Mr. Rhodes.
Fine. I will indicate that it's $11,500. If they gave you $7,000, they don't owe you $5,000. They owed you the difference between $11,500 and the $7,000 that they gave you. Now, one of the things that you disputed, Mr. Attar, was this Bobcat. Who paid for the Bobcat? Show me.
They minus it from the final price.
Just a second. Was that an argument?
The argument about is, Your Honor, is they rented for 1 day, but they charged me 2 days, $800. There's no Bobcat rental for $800 for 2 days.
Do you have the bill for the Bobcat?
I do, yes. And it was for 2 days.
Go over a certain time.
Because it was returned late. So they charged a second day. But in his text messages, he did request it for 2 days.
Is that the total price?
Yes, and I did not subtract it from his payment.
Total contract was $652.74?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you. Just show me a picture.
Yes, ma'am. This is not a picture.
Mr. Attar, you're the businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your company.
Yes, ma'am.
Company requires, A, a license before you operate, which you didn't have.
If you did.
B, it requires a written contract. You're the businessman. They're people who bought a house who got your number off a windshield someplace. You're the businessman, and you want the parameters. You want them fixed. So I don't know if it's $11,000 or $11,500. Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Right. Well, that's your mistake. You look as if you've probably been in business for a long time.
14 years.
And is what you're telling me you don't have written contracts?
All my contracts are verbal.
Then how many times have you been in court, sir?
Never.
Never.
I never had a stop payment check. Never paid me on time, Your Honor.
It's the problem. So when you finished, the debris wasn't all removed.
That wood, they kept telling me, don't touch it. Their neighbor, cousin, whoever's going to come pick it up. That was just cut cord wood.
No. There's brick. There's wood, there's cement.
We cleaned all that. I personally cleaned
Just
that.
a second. What I asked you, Mr. Attar, was show me a picture of the property when you left. This is the picture that you showed me.
It was the last, before I had more work, I came in and did more. I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't expecting somebody to stop payment on a check, Your Honor. I was not expecting that.
What it looked like when he left.
What about after?
Well, what are you showing me here? This brick that's here?
They piled it there and then left it there.
Well, that's probably a good one.
No, it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be removed.
So this is the back.
That's the picture of the sagging patio because he removed part of the supports that were holding up the patio that he wasn't supposed to. So it's now sagging.
Now, this is the picture that you gave me when you told me this is what you wanted, level, cleared, and made flat.
Right.
Now, I want to see your picture of what this looked like when he left.
You have it. It's in some of those photos.
Flat's leveled.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The close-ups, that's part of it.
Well, it looks like most of the stuff is done. It looked like a lot of cleanup left.
No, ma'am, we done all the cleanup.
Well, I haven't seen that, so then what you're supposed to do is take a photograph.
It was also buried underneath. These are the photos of when we did it ourselves and really leveled it out. And as we were doing that, we found so much buried underneath that should have been removed, but his Bobcat person buried it all.
Your Honor.
I mean, buried
all the debris, all the concrete brick.
Okay, let me see the bill from the...
No, we did it ourselves. We rented equipment and did it ourselves on his vacation.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, $4,500 is so far what's owed on this contract. Now, your counterclaim is money owed for lost work, equipment rentals, labor and missing damages to property. What money owed for lost work?
During the second week that he was working, he called and said that his crew had left. This was the second day of supposed to be use of the Bobcat that I rented.
Okay, if you interrupt me again, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So just explain lost work. Who's lost work?
His.
Oh, forget it.
Well, he called and said his crew left.
Forget it.
He can't finish the job.
You weren't living there.
Not yet, no.
You weren't living there. Okay. He wants to go. I'm not interested in his lost wages for taking care of his house. So far, you owe the man the balance on his contract, unless you had somebody else do it, which is absolutely fine. And I would look at that removal of debris, what it costs you, and you're absolutely entitled to that. Deducted from what you owe him, which is $4,500.
But he didn't finish the job.
Just a second. You tell me, how am I supposed to gauge how much of the job he didn't finish? Did he not complete $2,500 worth, $3,500 worth, $1,500 worth?
I think the $7,000 we paid him was overpaid. He didn't have to end up removing an entire pool. He only had to remove...
That's your problem. Just a second. I read that. You said it's not a big pool. It wasn't 8 feet. It was only 24 inches. He gave you a price to level everything. Nothing delineated, nothing in a written contract. The pool turns out to be 2 feet instead of 6 feet or 2 feet instead of 8 feet. Well, if he was the contractor and he came out and he looked at the pool, he said, oh, this is an 8-foot pool, and it turned out it's a 12-foot pool, he'd be stuck with 11.5, just like you're stuck with 11.5 because it was shallower. Now, you owe him $4,500 unless you want to produce for me bills that you have for rental equipment, et cetera, and I will absolutely deduct that from the $4,500. Just give me the bills and the amount of equipment. Don't say nothing, Mr. Retard. Mr. Rhodes, did you rent a Bobcat?
The one that I cleaned up the yard with?
Yes.
I rented a piece of equipment.
Jump up!
Refusing to pay for demolition work. Mary and Michael claim he never finished the job and stole their property.
Now, what did you rent?
A skip loader.
That's different from a Bobcat.
Yes, that's correct.
Smaller?
I would say bigger.
Bigger. And do you remember how much it cost you? Did you rent it from Home Depot?
No. It's from a local rental yard. I think it was
all the equipment we rented
in Ontario.
$1,300.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Find
the bill.
They didn't print it, so now I gotta.
How many days did you have it, Mr. Rhodes?
4.
I'm dismissing your counterclaim, Mrs. Rhodes. Do you want to know why? Because I asked him a specific question, and you answered. Do you understand? Do you understand? That part of your counterclaim, because you don't have it, you can't find it. So far you owe him $4,500. Not $8,600, but $4,500. Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Attar or someone from his team stole copper piping or whatever piping that you claim was missing? Do you have any proof that either Mr. Attar or anyone under his authority took property from you?
Yes. We have text messages back and forth.
Okay, I'll read them. Okay, so what you're referring to with regard to the stolen property is you send a picture and there's a little piece of pipe there, one piece of pipe, and you say, Mike, did you or your guys happen to grind off 2 metal poles and concrete blocks? The kids use those for volleyball nets. And he says, oh my God, no, sir, but I'm guessing the person whom I gave my medal to, no problem, Michael, please give, and I don't see the rest of this message.
Yes, so that was the beginning of things we noticed that were missing.
Oh, I don't care. If this is what you're talking about?
Yes, he's saying he let a metal person onto our yard, and they went and took everything that was metal.
Okay. Okay, now, Mr. Attar.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me about the missing metal on this property.
She was standing right there, and there was a metal guy that drove down the street. And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Who is this person?
This person was picking up metal, and I asked for permission. I said, ma'am, can you come down the property?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this person picking up metal for nothing?
Yes,
Just a second. Yeah. You're a business guy. Mr. Attar, somebody drives down the street and says, you know, I see you doing construction. Is there any metal around here that you want me to dispose of?
Yes, ma'am. They do a lot.
Yes. And then they look around. This is what you tell them. They look around and they take the metal for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. This would be cheaper for me instead of load it on my trailer and take it to the recycling metal yard.
So what metal did they take, sir? I assume
everything that I gave them.
What did you give them?
Nobody went up there and cut no poles, ma'am.
Well, they sent you a picture of a pole, sir. And in response to the picture of the pole, you said, oh, my God, I'm guessing the person whom I gave my medal to.
I'm guessing.
No problem. And then you say later, tell me what it is, and I will either look high and low to get it back or replace it. That's what you say.
Yes, I offered to replace it.
That's what you say.
I offered to replace it.
Now, next question. I need an itemized list and what the value was of the metal taken.
There's a list of everything. They're listed in there.
What is this?
Those are all the damages, but the metal is listed in there separately of the items that are missing.
No, it isn't. This is a whole bunch of other things that you prepared for this case.
It's in there underneath. There's the horse feeder. Part of the corral was cut off.
This is something that you wrote yourself.
Yes, you said an itemized list.
If they took 6 feet of pipe, get me a bill from Home Depot for the replacement of that pipe.
Oh, I have
all the bills for the replacement of metal, not what you prepared for this litigation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Itemized list.
Did you take down a horse corral?
No, Your Honor, I did not take no horse corral. I have nothing
horse corral, is that metal or is it?
It's made out of galvanized metal, yeah. They cut pieces off of that were sticking up to take to recycle, I guess.
Just a second. Was there a 4-sided horse corral?
Yes.
That looked like this?
Yes.
That they took down?
They cut pieces that were sticking up above the horse corral, attached to the horse corral.
You're being petty. You're being petty. $306, Ram's price, galvanized wall-mounted horse feeder. Did you take a horse feeder?
No, Your Honor, I got no.
Yo, Mr. Attar, $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, his equipment broke, and he wanted us to rent the equipment for him.
Equipment died because things break down.
And then the next day, he calls and says he can't finish it.
At that moment, I didn't have a credit card to my name. And that's the honest truth.
So we pretty much figured that was job abandonment at that point.
I'm going to have a written contract in the future. Don't hire
Always
him.
hire a professional.
I could not believe that your first question to him when he said that he'd been working as a contractor for 14 years was, and you've been working all 14 of those years unlicensed?
Okay.
I was waiting for the question. I was waiting at the edge of my seat, and it never came.
Different minds. Yeah. Should have slipped me a note.
I should have.
You should have slipped me a note. No, that actually didn't cross my mind, but that's a good question.
Yeah, oral contracts and no license.
And no license, but there's no question. He did the work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He did the work, and they were really dickering over who was going to absorb the cost of this second Bobcat that they had to get, which was really ridiculous. If they had another contractor who came and completed the job.
You would have awarded that.
I would have deducted it from the $4,500 that they owed him. But absent that, the fact that he rented some sort of piece of equipment and came and cleaned up the property was not important to me, and the rest of their case was nonsense. Next time, they won't employ somebody for $11,000 from a card from your windshield.
At Home Depot.
From anywhere. Wherever, and not say, okay, listen, maybe I'll give him a shot. Give me 3 of your last references to call.
It's a good lesson to people out there,
I don't understand that. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Wedding planner Tara Gordon is suing her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, for the balance of a wedding contract.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2030, Gordon versus Jackson Smith.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gordon, you're a wedding planner.
Yes.
You called her to plan a wedding that you were having in Las Vegas.
Yes.
It's your husband?
Yes.
The wedding was scheduled for what date?
April 30th of 22.
Your lawsuit against the defendants is for the balance of a fee that you say is due and owing to you. Ms. Jackson and Mr. Smith are counterclaiming for a whole bunch of things. They said that not only didn't they get everything that they paid for, that you selected the venue, and they were ejected from the venue because they weren't allowed to have a wedding there or serve liquor. So what was your fee that you quoted the defendants, and how much of that fee did they pay?
My fee for planning the wedding was $4,000.
And that $4,000, was that fee reduced to a contract?
Yes, it was.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Ms. Jackson, this your first wedding?
Yes.
And yours?
Yes.
Okay, your total fee was $4,000, a deposit of $2,000. Did they give you a deposit?
Yes.
Okay, so they signed an agreement to pay you $4,000. How much did they pay you in total?
In total, for our planning fee, they paid...
No, in total, how much did they pay your company?
$2,000.
$2,000.
Correct. So how our company is set up is we're set up as an affordable payment plan for a wedding. So we set up our clients on a payment plan. So they also pay the expenses of all of their wedding through us.
So you have to send them an invoice for what it was that you spent for the vendors.
Correct.
Okay.
And then also the default of that contract states that if they miss payments, they have breached the contract.
That's why we're here. Each of you is accusing the other of breaching this agreement. You say that they didn't finish paying you what they owed you, and they say you didn't furnish the services to them that they signed up for the wedding. They gave you $2,000, and the wedding was supposed to be held where?
The banquet hall.
Did you send them a deposit?
No, because at that time she had not paid enough money.
Just a second. The answer is no. You had not sent them a deposit.
No.
Had they sent you the deposit of $2,000?
They sent me the deposit for our planning fee, yes.
I'm talking about for your planning fee, $2,000.
Yes.
And how much was the deposit for?
50% of $16,000, which was $8,000.
And where is the invoice for that you sent them?
I don't have that invoice because she was not able to secure the venue.
I read it. And from what I read in your complaint, the original venue that you secured, according to you, was rendered unavailable because of a broken pipe.
That was the second venue. We went through 3 venues. The first venue, she lost that venue because she could not keep up with the payments and did not submit money for a deposit. The second venue was the R&R Event Center. That venue she lost because a pipe broke in the venue.
Okay, just a second. R&R
Event Center.
And when was that taken?
That was booked on March 11, 2022. And I do have the invoice for that.
And how much was it?
$2,250.
Okay, that's much better than $8,000. Okay. Did she put in a deposit?
Deposit was made from the monthly payments that she makes towards her wedding.
Show me invoices that you sent her every month.
Yes, I have that.
Well, I'd like to see them.
This is the statement of the account. It lists all the invoices that she was sent on a monthly basis.
So she paid you the $20,000 that was invoiced.
Her wedding cost a total of $23,600.
No, that's not what I said. Opening balance was $0. Invoice $20,000 $451.57. Paid $19,356.57.
So that I paid that last time.
That's what this says. Uncross your arms.
Correct. No, that's
Okay,
that's
so
correct.
she paid for everything. Now,
No, she didn't pay for everything because, as I just stated, her wedding cost a total of $23,681.
let's go back to, because I see that we're not getting anywhere. Before her wedding, before anything happened, before she said, I do, and before he says, I take you, she paid practically $20,000, which was your original estimate and her budget for the wedding. There's a second. That's either a yes or a no. Before the wedding, your original budget that you were given by the defendant, I read the papers, was $20,000.
So, and as
that's either a yes, I read the papers, or a no.
Yes, that is the budget she stated she would like to stay around. But however, in planning a wedding, you cannot give an exact of how it's going to cost.
I didn't say that. Madam, pay careful attention to me. I've made 16 weddings. I've had 16 event planners. I know exactly how it works, and I know exactly that you can't always predict to the $100 or $50 or sometimes $500 how much more the wedding is going to cost. It never costs less. That's not what I said to you. I said by the time the wedding took place, she had paid the vast majority of the original amount that she said she wanted to spend for the wedding. And that is accurate. She said she wanted to spend $20,000. She gave you over $19,000. Did that include your fee?
No, it didn't.
Just a second. So the answer is no. That's what she wanted to spend, exclusive of your fee.
Correct.
Now, of your fee, she gave you an initial deposit, or they did, of $2,000.
So
that's either a yes or a no. She gave you $2,000. Did she ever pay you the other $2,000 for the fee? And the rest of the expenses that you want are the additional expenses over and above the $20,000 that, stop shaking your head, over and above what she originally said she wanted to spend.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to get to what happened just about a week before the wedding.
Okay.
You had booked a place. She had paid for the place, $2,250.
Yes.
And that was at R&R. According to you, something happened at R&R. Stop shaking your head. It's annoying. Something happened at R&R. What happened at R&R and when?
Correct. The wedding was scheduled to happen on April 30th.
Tell me what happened at R&R.
I was informed by Rico, the owner, sitting on that side, that a pipe had busted and the venue would no longer be available for usage on her wedding date.
And on what date was that?
It was around the week before her wedding, or 2 weeks before her wedding, sorry.
Date?
I don't have the exact date.
You own, manage, or what, this R&R?
I'm the owner of R&R Events Center.
Hey, tell me your last name, sir.
Cox, C-O-X.
Do you remember having a conversation with the plaintiff about the venue?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember when it was?
March 25th of 2022.
Can you tell me what you said to her and what she said to you?
We had a conversation. I'm like, hey, problem with my venue. I had a pipe that busted. I won't be able to host her wedding. Well, the reception, I should say. So I informed her I can put her in contact with other venues that I may know, or I could send her back the deposit. She asked for the deposit back. I sent the deposit back probably within the hour.
How much was the deposit? $2,250?
No, ma'am.
How much was it?
$1,125, which was half.
So 50%?
Yes, ma'am.
So you sent her back the deposit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive the deposit, Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I did.
The wedding wasn't until April 30th. So you had plenty of time. Well, not plenty of time. You had time to look for a new venue, or else they were going to have to change the date.
Correct, and they found it.
What venue, you can sit down, Mr. Cox, thank you very much. What venue did you select? And had you ever used them before?
No, I had not. I never worked with a challenge budget like this for a venue.
If you don't like the budget, don't take the gig.
Yeah, I won't.
And that's where the reception was held. But that venue was not allowed to have this kind of party.
I was not aware of that until the day of the wedding.
That's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their problem. They hired you as an event planner.
They did, and they got a wedding. The wedding went the entire time. The wedding was not closed until after the wedding had already ended. So they used the venue regardless.
Okay. Miss Gordon, it's your job as the event planner, which is what I don't understand you being here. It's your job as the event planner. They don't live in Las Vegas. That's your job to ensure that the place that you select is a venue that's capable of performing the duties that you outlined in your contract, which means they serve food, they're allowed to serve liquor, they're allowed to dance, they're allowed to host an event of how many people?
It was supposed to be 120, but all of my guests didn't get their invitation. So
okay, so over 100 people.
Your Honor, it wasn't that they were not allowed to have the wedding there. They were allowed to have the wedding there. What they were not allowed to do was the business was not allowed to operate after a certain time, and that is what the business owner produced to us.
Just a second. You want to show me a contract that she signed with that business owner? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I would like to see the contract that you signed with this business owner. Sarah, just for my own information, would you look up this venue, please? Tell me what you find.
Sure.
Ms. Gordon, this space was a little less money than the previous space that you had selected.
Correct.
$500, $700?
Yes, and that's because they were not providing all of the things that the original event place was providing.
Was this event space that you booked at the end of the evening, I don't want to use the word raided, closed by the police? That's either a yes. Did the police arrive at this venue?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And what time did the police arrive at the venue?
They arrived at 9:30.
Is there a police report that anyone has?
No.
And how many parties have you done where police arrived at the end of an evening or during the course of an evening in the 2 years that you've been in Las Vegas?
Never.
And the police arrived at this wedding not because anybody was creating a disturbance, there weren't shots fired.
Well, no, that is why.
Wedding planner Tara Gordon claims her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, owe for the balance of their wedding. Beatrice and Nicholas are countersuing for breach of contract.
Okay, police arrived at this wedding not because anybody was creating a disturbance, there weren't shots fired.
Well, no, that is why. They initially had a report because...
Well, I don't know that. If you can show it to me,
I don't have.
I'd be more than happy to look at it. The police showed up.
May I bring my witness up, please?
For what reason?
Because she can attest to the altercation that took place prior, which is why we were even brought up on the radar, because the other businesses in the vicinity of where the business takes place had complained. There was a lot of altercation back and forth outside of the event because she refused to sign the agreed upon payment plan to continue payments after the wedding.
You understand that I'm not particularly sympathetic.
I'm not.
I'm letting you know I'm not particularly sympathetic for the following reason. Somebody plans a wedding and has a budget of $20,000 plus your fee. So that's, say, $25,000 that they either put together or are saving up for a wedding, first for each. A week before the wedding, something happens with the venue where the wedding could not be held at the venue of their choice. They're relying on an out-of-state wedding planner, that's you, to find a legitimate venue that is licensed to have an event. When they get to Las Vegas on the date of the wedding, you present them with a new contract.
No, that is not true.
When did you have it
incorrect.
Just a second. When did you give them? Because you said that the problem, which caused the police to come. Just a second. I don't understand.
Before I selected the very last venue, she was on FaceTime with me, looking at the venue with me, because I informed her I've never worked with this venue. I don't know anything about the venue. I told her that the best thing for her is to postpone her wedding. She was already behind in payments. This is her third venue.
Just a second, she paid you almost the entire $20,000.
She paid it in March. In March.
Doesn't matter. She paid you almost the entire...
30 days before her wedding. That's what you're not hearing.
I'm not looking at you. Before her wedding, she paid you almost the entire amount of the $20,000 that she originally gave you as a budget before the wedding.
If you look at the contract, it says that you're going to make monthly payments so that we can adequately plan your wedding. You booked me back in 2021, almost a year before your wedding. The wedding was to be planned over the course of that year. The initial venue that I have worked with that I know is reputable, she ended up not paying the deposit on time, so they had to move forward forward with another date. After that, I didn't get any payments from her until March when she got her tax return. And then at that time, I was forced with less than 60 days to try to find another venue, in which I did, which was R&R event space, and then a pipe busted in that event space, and then I was forced to find another venue for her. I told her back in January, the top of the year, you need to postpone your wedding. Before invitations went out, before of all of that, when she was having troubles with her payment plan, I advised her as a professional, I think you should postpone your wedding date.
You may talk a lot, but the bottom line is you're the expert. Uncross your arms. You're the expert. You're trying to talk over me? You're trying to talk over me?
No, I'm not.
Good. So you're the expert. She's out of town. The reason that she selects a wedding planner in Las Vegas is because you're supposed to know whether or not the venue that you recommend is able to take care of the party you book. You may say to her, I don't uncross. You may say to her, I don't know anything about the venue, but that's your job. You're supposed to know about the venue.
When I told her in the first place that she needed to postpone her wedding, that was my professional advice.
No, that's not what she hired you for, to tell you to postpone her wedding. She hired you to plan her wedding, not to give her advice whether or not. You're trying to talk over me. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. You have to understand there are certain things that you did. Okay. You got out the invitations. That's a great thing. I assume you got a DJ. That's great. All of those things. The wedding itself, to me, was problematic. If my wedding ended with the police coming to the venue, and it turned out that the venue was one where you weren't allowed to have that kind of an event, I would be annoyed at the wedding.
They were allowed to have a wedding.
No, they weren't. The police officer.
The contract clearly states that.
I don't care what it states.
That's not what the police officer said.
And you know, because you have a police.
I don't care what it states. I don't care what it states. You started to tell me before that the reason the police came there is because there was an altercation about you giving her another contract on that date, and there were words outside, and people were complaining, other people who were in the air.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
The night before her wedding, I explained to her.
I want to know what's happened on the date of the wedding. Just a second.
Can you let me finish so I can articulate?
I want you to go because I have a limited amount of time and I'm getting very old. I thought what you said to me, and you're going to read this back, is that the reason the police were drawn to the venue is because of the arguments outside.
Correct.
Let's read that back.
That's what I just said.
That was on the date of the wedding.
Correct.
You got married, and you're happy, and you had people at the wedding.
You got a free wedding.
And you
$20,000.
You're almost done. Do you understand? You're almost finished. Go ahead.
We were brought up on the radar because the other businesses in the vicinity where the event took place had complained. There was a lot of altercation back and forth outside of the event because she didn't agree to sign the payment plan.
Okay. So the reason that you said, let's go back, that the police came to the venue and then shut it down because it wasn't allowed to be used for what it was used for was because there were altercations about this second contract.
No, that's not the contract we were having an altercation about. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Oh, just a second. On the day of the wedding, Miss Gordon, did you present her with a new contract to sign? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, I did, but not for the venue. It's
not for the venue. I didn't say it was for the venue.
Yes.
On the day of her wedding, did you present her with a new contract? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You said you had discussed that with her the night before?
Correct.
And uncross.
Oh, sorry.
And the night before, did she agree to sign?
Yes, she
Just
did.
a second. A new contract?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And the new contract provided for what?
The new contract that she was supposed to sign.
Provided for what?
Provided for the remainder balance of the $23,681 that her wedding actually cost. Because she had only paid $19,000. You have the sheet, so I don't have the exact number.
$19,356.57.
Correct. So since she had only paid that amount and the total expenses for her wedding were $23,681.
Okay.
So the night before, she agreed to make a payment plan with me to extend her payments beyond her wedding date to pay off this remaining balance.
And is that what she agreed to on the phone? Is that what you're saying to me?
Correct.
She agreed with you on... She agreed on the phone to pay you the additional $3,500 or $4,000, and she agreed to pay it over time.
Correct.
And that was Friday night.
Correct.
And then she got to the wedding.
Correct.
And at what point did you present her with the new contract? At what point in the event?
Upon her arrival to the reception venue.
Now, what happened when you got to the reception venue? You'd already gotten through the ceremony, so you're already married. What time did you get to reception?
So the reception was supposed to start at 5. It was supposed to start at 5, but when we got there, she wasn't even done decorating. All of my family stayed outside for another hour, including my grandmother, my grandpa. We waited in cars. Okay.
It was supposed to start at 5.
At 5.
This venue that I have here someplace, you have it?
I think it was supposed to start at 5:30 and end at 10:30 per the contract.
Okay, thank you. Was it supposed to start at 5:30?
Yes.
What happened at 5:30, Ms. Gordon?
I presented her with the contract, and then she refused to sign it. Her guests were waiting outside because she was refusing to sign it. When she refused to sign it, because our agreement was she was going to sign the agreement before we started the reception. When she said that she did not want to start the reception, I responded and I said, we will pack all of this up and my staff and I will leave because now we're not being paid for our services.
What time did the police arrive?
Wedding planner Tara Gordon has accused her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, of refusing to pay the remaining wedding balance. Beatrice and Nicholas claim Tara booked an illegal venue for their reception.
So, what time did the police arrive?
The police arrived at 9:30.
And did the police tell everyone to leave?
Yes, they did.
And told everyone that they had to leave?
They arrived and they told me that everyone had to leave.
Whether they told you or whether they told them. They said the place had to be cleared.
Correct.
And that was an hour before the termination of the event.
So at the end, the event was...
The event was supposed to end at 10:30. Police arrived at 9:30. That's according to you. That's an hour short of the event time she was supposed to have at the venue.
No, the event was supposed to end at 9:30. This is her timeline of events that was supposed to take place.
This is the contract.
That's the time that I have the venue too. I have to clean up. The agreed upon timeline is here. The wedding was supposed to end at 9:30, giving me an hour to clean up.
I'll take a look at what you have. I'm just telling you that this is the signed contract.
That's signed between me and the venue because they were giving me an extra hour to clean up.
That doesn't say that in here.
Because I booked it for a timeline. I booked it from 5:30 to 10:30. I outline everything that takes place. It ended at the last song of the night was at 9:30. And she went through the last song. We made it through the last song of the night on time.
Could I take a look at that?
I just can't wait till it's my turn.
Well, the last song of the night was supposed to start at 9:30.
Yes, and it started earlier because we made it through and she was done dancing. And by the time the police came, it was just mingling and dancing going on. So she had made it through her entire wedding reception is what I'm trying to state.
Yes, Mr. Cox.
Please.
Hey, Your Honor, I'm back. That's not true. The police actually came at 9 o'clock and...
Were you there?
I was the DJ.
You were the DJ?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
That didn't get paid.
Don't.
Oh, he got paid.
Don't.
He got paid.
Speak. So the police arrived at 9 o'clock.
That's correct.
And what happened when they arrived, Mr. Cox? By the way, did you know them before the wedding?
No, ma'am.
Did you know her before the wedding?
This conversation that we had via Facebook or telephone.
No, he did not know me
So no.
prior to the wedding.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. She booked your services.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were your services for the night?
My DJing services were $500.
Were you paid?
No, ma'am.
What happened when the police arrived?
The police came, asked everyone to leave.
Do you know anything about this venue space where the wedding took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
It's a storefront.
So are a lot of venues in Las Vegas.
Your case is dismissed. Do you understand? This is not a free-for-all. As far as I'm concerned, you got almost exactly what her budget called for. And I have one vendor that wasn't paid.
Because she didn't pay. It's clear.
Well, how do I know that you paid the other vendors? At least I know one vendor that you didn't pay. And she paid almost $20,000.
They got paid because, okay.
I have two things. I have one vendor that's here that wasn't paid. You were paid almost $20,000. The balance, part of it, is for your fee. Part of it is
my
for...
fee was not...
Are you saying that part of this money that you're suing for, this $4,000, was not part of your fee?
The $4,000 that I'm suing for is part of my fee.
Of course, that's what I said. So part of that money was for your fee, and part of it was for vendors. I have one vendor here who says he wasn't paid.
Well, I have receipts from other vendors if you like to see.
No, I know you had a lot of vendors, but you didn't pay him. He's the only
I didn't pay him
body.
because she didn't pay me. It's clear. She didn't pay me enough money to pay her venue. I have here proof of how much every item in her wedding cost, which exceeded the $19,000 that she paid. Clearly, she owes more money. That's the facts of the matter. She owes more money to what her wedding cost.
She's countersuing you for ruining her wedding because you booked it at a venue that wasn't allowed to have a wedding. She's got a counterclaim for far more than your claim. Bottom line is, she picked a wedding planner, she picked a venue, she tacitly approved this change of venue. Both of you had to at the last minute, but you did that relying on the wedding planner to find a venue that was capable to hold the event, and it wasn't. It wasn't. That's your job. Your job is to find an appropriate place so that the police don't raid a wedding a half hour before it's over. That's not the way a wedding is supposed to end. So what I want you to tell me is you're suing her for $4,300. How much of that $4,300 is your fee?
$2,000.
And you didn't pay him?
No.
So that's 24 minus 500. You didn't pay him because you have to pay him.
I paid him.
Part of it was to pay him.
I'm deducting it.
Okay.
I'm not paying you for your fee.
Okay.
You booked the wrong space for your fee. So far, I have $1,825. Other than the DJ, who else didn't you pay? I'm very clear.
Can I?
Other than the DJ, he's going to tell me, the DJ is going to tell me, other than the DJ, who else didn't you pay? Mr. Cox, could you stand up, please? You seem to want to tell me something, and since you didn't know either one of these parties, I'm going to let you tell me. Do you know any other vendor other than you who wasn't paid?
The bartender also was not paid.
Bartender.
That's correct.
Which is his wife.
That's correct.
I don't care whether it was his wife or not. It was the bartender.
Right, but what I'm saying was the bar was included.
How much were you supposed to pay the bartender?
The bar and the bartender came with him. He offered to do the bar and to DJ because his pipe busted. So what I'm saying is, he said, I'll bring my bar and I'll do a cash bar, meaning
that's because a bar you can't have for $500. So we'll do a cash bar.
Correct.
Did you do a cash bar?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. So you made some money off the cash bar?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, of course. Got it. Now you can sit. So what you paid him was $500 for both.
And $150 for the bar.
$650 total.
That's what he charged them outside of the wedding.
This is a very easy case for me. You were paid almost $20,000.
I wasn't paid anything. I was paid $2,000.
And I would feel doubly furious if on the day of my wedding, as a new bride of an hour, the event planner said to me, you can't go in unless you sign this contract, modifying our first contract.
The contract was not to modify.
Your case is dismissed. We're done.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
So your counterclaim.
There are some things that I realized that, I could have done better.
Basically, 10 days before the wedding, add additional $4,000 on top of $20,000.
That never happened.
It was just her way of just trying to come up on more money, in my opinion.
At the end of the day, she had got her wedding.
I'm actually sometimes surprised at professionals like this woman, who is an event planner, has a reputation. She was almost fully compensated for this event. And the wedding was, if it were my wedding, I would say, it's ruined by having a police shut it down. We had a wedding a month ago. What would you think if the police?
You would not be happy if you paid any amount of money to a professional and had that happen. I really thought it was outrageous.
The whole thing was just tacky, waiting outside the venue when she got there from the ceremony, and before she could go in, she had to sign the contract. That's really not what you do as a professional.
Bad business.
Bad business.
Carla Sacco is suing plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy for water damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2077, Zacco versus Sheldon Foy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. Sacco, you had some sort of a problem in a shower in your house.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me briefly what the problem was.
I had a small dribble coming from around a shower valve that was in my master bathroom shower.
Tell me what valve it was. You know, I'm not a...
Well, I have a picture that I can show you.
Just make a circle where the problem was.
I believe it was the top one.
Thank you. Who's Mr. Shelton? Let's change places with each other. Thank you. Okay, and you saw a water drip?
Yes, very fine little drizzle coming.
You saw water dripping, and according to my complaint, you had seen around the neighborhood a truck, Foy's Plumbing.
Yes, I have.
And that's how you got to Mr. Foy?
Correct. My neighbor had used him.
Did you speak to the neighbor, or did you just remember seeing the truck?
No, I spoke to my neighbor.
Okay. Can you tell me on what date you noticed the leak and on what date you spoke to the neighbor?
Probably around the 10th or so of December.
That was in a shower that you don't use, but your husband uses?
I'm widowed.
Okay, so who told you about the leak?
The housekeeper.
Okay. And then did you check it yourself?
Yes.
And this small leak had been there for a couple of weeks before you got to Mr. Foy?
Correct.
After you spoke to the neighbor and confirmed that this neighbor had used Mr. Foy, when you called Mr. Foy, did you actually speak to him?
No.
Who did you speak to?
It was a woman that answered the phone.
Who answered the phone? Do you know?
Alma did.
I'm the office manager.
Okay, could you stand up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Alma Valdez.
And you work for Mr. Foy?
Yes.
And you have a plumbing company?
Yes, ma'am.
How many employees do you have in the company?
Right now, only 3.
He's not one of them?
Yes, he's one of the employees.
How long has he been an employee?
Well, on and off 15 years.
What does that mean, on and off?
Well, a couple of times he went to work for another plumbing company and then came back.
Was he an employee of your company, pay careful attention, in December of 2021?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And paid on the books?
Yes.
Is he still an employee?
Yes, he is.
Do you recall receiving the call in December from Miss Seiko?
Yes, I got a call from her on, I believe it was December 28th, saying that she had a leak. And so we set up an appointment for the next day.
Do you remember the conversation you had with her? Did she tell you she had been recommended by a neighbor?
You know, I don't recall. We did set up the appointment for the following day.
That would be December 29th?
Yes.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shelton was the person that Mr. Foy sent to you, and you were a full-time employee of Foy's Plumbing. Tell me what happened when you got there.
When I first got there, I noticed water running out of the handle.
It was dripping out of the handle because it had been there since December 10th.
It was streaming out. It was a pretty decent stream of water coming out.
The plaintiff doesn't use that shower, correct? So the first thing that someone would have done, even me, is turn off the water. Is that what you did?
Well, I wanted to go see what the leak really was.
Well, you looked
first, and then I went out and shut the water off, and then came back in to pull the cartridge to identify. And there's no markings on the plate, so I couldn't really tell exactly what brand it was. We do carry a variety of brands, but more of your typical...
You're getting too technical with me, sir.
Okay.
This is what the case is about. He came in, out the same day, the 28th. He said he didn't have the part. You have other complaints about his behavior on that day. You say was a little bit off. He left without a different part being put in. And you called another plumber? When?
I called, actually, my contractor that night to come over and look at it. He came over in the morning,
So he didn't come over that night. He came over the next day?
Correct. The next morning, he gave me
Now, you can't tell me what he gave you. He's not here. It is your claim that because of the actions of Mr. Shelton, and which are attributable to Mr. Foy, who owns the company, you suffered severe water damage in your house, causing you to have to replace substantial flooring in the house, and you want Mr. Foy to be responsible.
Correct.
You have insurance. I just want to make sure you do have insurance. You're a company.
We're licensed in the state of California.
Okay.
We're required to carry insurance.
That's what the case is about. You want the company to be responsible. They did not come back and fix the problem. Someone else did, but by the time it was remedied, water had already seeped through and under the floors. You have evidence of that. Mr. Foy said that that's not his problem. So I'd like you to tell me what happened on the 29th when Mr. Shelton came. What time did he come in?
I think he came around 12:30. So we came in, went to the bathroom, looked at it, took out the cartridge. He did turn off the water. And then he said he had to go look for the part. He left. He was gone for over an hour, returned, said, I don't have the part, they don't have it. And as he's talking to me, his phone rings again, and it's the plumbing place, and they said, oh, we have the part. He left again for another hour. He comes back the third time, and he says, they still don't have the part. By this time, it's like 3 hours had passed, and I'm sitting in my living room, and I hear tools dropping in the shower. I said to him at one point, do you think you need to call for somebody else, some help? And he said, no, I can handle this.
Did he leave?
5 o'clock. I'm waiting. I have a friend that shows up at my house because we were going for dinner. And I said, well, we have to wait for the plumber to leave. And she goes, there's no car out front of your house.
You didn't know when he left?
No, I did not know when he left.
Did the shower look as if it had been put back in place? Did it look pretty much like this?
It was like that, but the stream of water that was minuscule before was much stronger.
Okay, that doesn't actually help you.
No.
That hurts you because he said the water was a pretty rapid, is that what you told me? Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Could you read back, Whitney, how Mr. Shelton described the water?
He said it was streaming out. It was a pretty decent amount of water coming out.
Yeah, he said that was pretty decent when you got there. And I am correct, Mr. Shelton, that when you left the house that day, you had not found a part to fix it. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I am correct that when you went to disassemble it, you turned the water off.
Yes.
Because it was leaking.
Yes.
And then you didn't fix it because you didn't have the right part. And then you turned the water back on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't speak.
Carla Sacco claims plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy owe for damage from a water leak.
Now, when you left on the 29th without having put in an appropriate part because you couldn't find it, this leak, which caused you to turn off the water because it was a pretty significant leak, you turned the water back on.
The reason why I turned the water off, because you had to take the cartridge out. If I left the water on and took the cartridge out,
Listen, Mr. Shelton.
I know, that's
Mr.
why
Shelton,
I turned the water
Mr.
off.
Shelton, you're not being a two-process thinker, sir. Let me explain something to you. I came to California from Connecticut to the place where we live in California. I walked into the master bath, to the toilet, et voila, I see a puddle of water around the toilet. I say to myself, self, you went to law school. You don't know what this is. But it's not a leak that's coming from the back. It's a leak that looks like it's coming from the bottom. So I called engineering. Fortunately, I live in a place where somebody will come up. They came up right away. The first thing they did was turn off the water. Smart, just like you did. Then they opened up the problem, looked at the problem, and said, we need a part. Unfortunately, those are not the same parts that we keep in the hotel. We'll have to order it. Turned off the water. Use a different bathroom. For the 2-3 days it needs to get the part. You weren't there. So just pay attention to me, Mr. Foy. You weren't there. I'm just letting you know what common sense is living on the planet for a long time. If you have a leak that's caused by a faulty part, and you don't fix the part because you don't have the part, you turn the water off.
May I point something out? He had to turn off the water to the whole house because there is no shut-off to the shower.
Just a second.
He had turned the water off to the whole house, and he put this cartridge back before he turned the water on.
What difference does it make if he put the cartridge back? He has taken the cartridge apart.
No.
In order to see what it was, he took it out of the wall.
He took it out of the wall, but it does not take it apart.
Mr. Shelton, if your employee, and if what you're saying is accurate, which I don't actually think is accurate, because every room in a house usually has a turnoff valve, especially in the bathroom, so you don't have to turn off all the water to the kitchen and to other bathrooms, perhaps. If there's a problem in the shower, there's a master lever for the whole house, and then there are smaller levers for each.
For everything except the shower, ma'am.
What do you mean for everything except the shower?
The shower does not have an individual shut-off. You do indeed have to shut off the water to the house. The vanities, the toilets all have individual angle stops, but the shower does not.
Were you ever at the house?
No, ma'am.
No, so you were never at the house?
No, ma'am.
How many square feet is your house?
It's 2,500.
It's a substantial house. So you're telling me in a 2,500 square foot house, if you have a leak in the shower, you have to turn off all the water if you want to turn off the shower water.
Yes, ma'am. That's absolutely correct.
That's absolutely correct. Having not been there.
Yes, ma'am. I build houses.
No. I don't care what you build. You weren't in that house.
This has no shut off, ma'am, other than the whole house. You have to shut the water to the house off to shut that off.
So now here's my question. Did you tell the plaintiff that she had two options, either to shut the water off in the whole house until you could get a part because there was still a leak, or you could leave it on, but you have to watch it because according to you, the water was substantial that was coming out. She said it was a trickle. You said, oh, no. It was a steady stream of water. And that was before you started messing with it. So my question to you is, did you tell her that those were her options? She's not a plumber. That you either had to turn off all the water in the house and you would return the next day with a part, or you could leave the water on, but it was still going to be leaking. Did you tell her that?
Yes. It would still be leaking.
No way.
It would still be leaking. Because it was leaking.
No way, Mr. Shelton. No way did you tell her that. No way did you say to her, this shower is still going to be leaking because I can't shut the water off just to the bathroom. I have to shut off all the water in the house. If you're trying to sell me that story, I have a bridge I want to sell you because I don't believe it.
There's no way to isolate that valve?
I didn't ask you that.
When it comes to the shower...
You were never there.
Or the tub...
Just a second.
You can't turn it off individually.
You were never there. I have this question for you. How many bathrooms do you have in your house?
3.
When he left the first time and he shut the water off, did he indicate to you that you couldn't use the water anywhere in the house?
Yes. I believe he told me at first that he was going to shut off the water to the house.
Okay, so you knew. So you couldn't use any other of the toilets in the house?
No.
Okay, you may be getting better. When he left, did you use the bathroom? The answer is yes.
Yes.
So you knew that the water had been turned back on?
Oh, absolutely.
In the house. Just a minute. So you knew the water had been turned back on in the house, even though he didn't tell you I'm turning it back on, you knew. And you knew that he hadn't fixed the problem.
Correct.
So you knew that you better watch this, which is why you called your contractor to come and look at it.
Correct.
You're getting better, Mr. Foy. You're coming into a better place, you see? Things work themselves out. Now, you know that the water is still dripping. You know that there's still a leak.
Correct.
You know that if you use the water, that water is still going to be a steady stream coming out. You didn't get another plumber there until when?
The next morning.
Well, that's your contractor. You said he came the next morning.
No, I got a plumber there the next morning.
Okay. And they came, and did they fix the valve?
They had to open the wall to cap off the hot and cold water.
So it was a big job.
It was huge. I neglected to say it in the beginning, but when he took the shower valve off, he looked in the wall and he said, "It's dry in there, you're lucky." So that next morning when I walked into the master bedroom and I was walking in wet, I did call the Scotty Boy. Mm-hmm.
Now tell me where you felt it when you walked into the master bedroom. Do you have wood floors there or carpet?
It's all wood. And it was right as I got to where the bathroom and the master bedroom meet. There's no door.
So it was outside that it was wet.
I thought my dog had an accident on the floor.
And prior to the 29th, it's not getting to look good for you again. Prior to the time, Mr. Shelton...
May I clarify? The room that she's talking about, the shower's here. Robbie's working in the shower where it's all tile. And we never went into her bedroom.
Yes, you did. You have to.
You can't tell me that because you weren't there. Is the bathroom adjacent to the bedroom?
So to get to the master bathroom, you have to walk into the master bedroom and make a left.
Okay. Now, Mr. Shelton, you recall saying to the plaintiff, when you looked in the wall, you're lucky it's dry in here?
I said it looks dry. I'm not next.
Just a second. Mr. Shelton, you wouldn't have said to her, it looks dry in here, I'm not an expert.
An expert on water
damage.
Did you say? Yeah, I didn't, you can't really see into that wall because it's tiled, right? You can't really look into the wall unless you open it, but there was no reason for me to open it.
Evidently, you're wrong. Either you were wrong that it was dry, or when you put things back together again, something didn't work.
Carla Sacco has accused plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Ford of causing water damage to her home. Robbie and Scotty claimed the leak had been there for weeks.
Mr. Foy, you have a lot to say for someone who was never there.
Someone who's been a plumber for 40 years.
Just a second. I've been alive with houses for longer than you've been a plumber. Right? And there are certain things just from being on the planet This leak was first detected more than 2 weeks before your plumber got there, right? That's what she says. However, within that 2-week period, there was no water damage to the wood. The only time there was water, listen, you can shake your head all you like. This is the timeline.
We got called because there was a leak, ma'am.
No, you got called because there was a leak in the shower.
And according to her, it was leaking for 10 days.
Mr. Foy, what I'm telling you is he would never tell me that when he got there, he noticed anything that would have suggested to him that he best keep the water off in that house because there was water damage. He didn't notice that. He just took it apart, couldn't find a part, put it back together again, whichever way he put it back together again, and the next morning there was a flood. Now, that's the time sequence because she called you the next morning, couldn't get you at 8:30. I don't know whether she used a house phone. I don't know if she used a cell phone.
A cell phone.
Cell phone. So she would have a record of calling you at 8:30 the next morning because there was a problem. She felt water. So before your technician got there was no water coming up in her bedroom on the wood. And that had been water dripping, he says, a lot. She said it was a trickle for 18 days.
Into the shower, ma'am. It was dripping into the shower.
Until he touched it. After he touched it, it was no longer leaking in the shower. Now it was going through the wall. I'm just telling you, that's the time sequence, unless you believe in miracles, things that, just happen. Something had been going on for 18 days, and there was no incident of water damage in her bedroom. Your technician comes, doesn't fix the problem, but takes it apart, puts it back together again. The next day, voila, there's water damage on the wood, which has to be replaced. Now, either that could have happened by itself, because your technician says, it's not my job, I don't look behind the wall, but he did acknowledge saying to her, it looks dry in here. Does acknowledge saying that. Now, if I had a plumber and the plumber said, I'm not the expert, I had a leak in my apartment with a leaky toilet. The floor started to go like this. Couldn't figure out where it came from. They came down, they pulled all the walls apart in the apartment. Water travels down. I said, well, if water travels down, why don't you go look at the apartment above me instead of pulling out the walls on the side? Well, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Can you, Mr. Foy, and you were not there, could you give me another explanation of why? Because I believe her. This woman is not here because she is faking damage to her wood floors that resulted within that day. If he left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the next day she called you at 8:30. So during that time period was sufficient water that came through her house to cause damage to her floors. Give me another explanation.
I contend that it was a leak that was there. She didn't notice it because, as she said, she didn't use that bathroom. She wasn't in that room. And
he was in that room.
I know, but what I'm saying is the water damage was there before he was there.
So your explanation is that you sent a technician there. Now it's not looking so good for you, Mr. Foy. Your explanation is your technician didn't notice sufficient leaking from that valve to say to her, you best turn the water off in the house and not use the water until I get back to fix it.
He wasn't looking in the bedroom, ma'am. He was in the shower. He saw the leak in the shower. And
Can I see pictures of the floor, please?
Can I say something?
Sure.
When I left, it was not leaking. It was leaking the same way it was leaking when I first got there.
So
out the front.
Well, just a second. That's a lot.
It was coming out.
According to you.
Well, I mean, what a lot to me is a little stream is a lot of water.
Listen, Mr. Shelton.
Plumber, so.
Listen, Mr. Shelton. She said a trickle. You said no. It was a steady stream.
Well, yeah, stream.
That's steady stream. That's what you said, right? Can I see pictures of the floors, please? Between 4 o'clock and 8:30 in the morning. Can I see the bill to fix it, please?
I also have the person that fixed it. He wrote what he did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, kind of itemizes that.
Would you show this, please, to the defendant?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Foy, I assume you have insurance. You should have used it because I think you're responsible for the damage to her floors. And I think that that was done because your technician did not do an adequate job of protecting it between the time he found the leak and between the next day. Nothing else makes sense to me. 3589, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't really agree with it because it was already leaking before I got there and she admitted to it.
I'm just thankful this is over.
That is a wood floor. Water could have been underneath the wood floor and not showed itself.
Where it had not before. But I think he actually didn't put the valve on correctly.
That's also possible.
The broken one.
Yes.
And just put it back on and said, "Oh."
Either way, they were negligent. Yep.
Lucinda Noble is suing her sister, Tiffany Acuna, for rent and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2109, Noble versus Acuna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Noble, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Older or younger?
Younger.
Any other siblings?
Many.
How many?
I have 5 sisters and 4 brothers.
And you have kids. How many children do you have?
I have 3 daughters.
How old are they?
18, 15, and almost 12.
And you?
I have 3 children, and they are 10, 5, and 2.
There came a time when, that was in August of 2021, according to your complaint, that you were having some housing difficulties with your children.
No, that's not true.
Well, Miss Noble, what led you to believe that your sister was having some housing difficulty? Because you start your complaint by indicating that she was about to become homeless.
Her house that she was living in was being put up for sale.
So the house that you had been renting.
Correct.
For how long?
About 2 years. I'm not really sure. It was well over a
being
year.
sold.
Well, I didn't know that until I gave her my notice after I'd already previously asked my sister if we should move in.
So you approached her about you moving in with her.
Yes, correct.
And do you own your own home, Miss Noble?
I do.
Where you were living there alone with your 3 children?
Yes.
Okay, and how much rent were you paying?
$750.
Now, when you decided to move in with your sister, what rent was discussed?
Well, she had told me about $400 is what she wanted.
Okay, so she said the rent was $400 per month, and that was starting August 1st?
Right.
So this is what part of this case is about. Part of the case is about rent. You lived with your sister from August 1st, 2021 to a date in 2022 when you finally removed all of your property.
Kind of. I did not remove all of my property, but I removed what she allowed me to.
To remove on what date?
I'm going to say it was mid-May, but I'm not sure.
May of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So we have August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So between 9 and 10 months. For the 9 or 10 months that you were there, how many times did you pay her $400 in rent? She's going to have a list.
I have a list, too, of our...
And you have a list. So why don't you take a look at it and give me the exact number of months?
The time I paid her $400 was, I think, only one time. And there was other times I paid her different amounts, but our agreement was because I bought all the groceries, we just kept track on this app, which has a list. I paid way over $400 in total.
Well...
So our agreement had changed.
Just a second.
Okay.
You have an app, 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you spend on that app?
12,000 something. It's right in here on the list.
Take a look, because you're going to show it to me.
I paid total $10,411.
Okay, and she?
She total was $11,291.
And that was to cover groceries, food, gas money.
Her phone was under mine.
This is something that I'm going to have to simplify. There came a time when there were issues with regard to you not paying her $400 a month rent. And you discussed it with her, correct? And in what month was that?
April.
It was before April. It was before I had gone on vacation.
What month and year?
December of 2021.
So what I'm reading in December of 2021, you had a dispute about how much you were spending, how much you weren't spending, and that $400 was not being forthcoming just for rent. You see, I can understand that the two of you decided to split bills, everything other than the $400 in rent. You each have 3 children. You're 2 adults. Let's get to December. Was it the beginning or middle of December that you had this discussion about just pay $400 a month and we'll deal with it?
Maybe the middle.
Okay. So we have January, February, March, April, and you moved out in May.
Correct. I was kicked out illegally. Yes.
In May. left in May. So that's 5 months. It was suggested by your landlord that just give me $400 a month and we'll split groceries.
In April, I have the proof of the text.
Just a second. So we have January, February, March, and April, 4 months. Did you give her $400 a month for those 4 months?
Nope, it was never discussed before. Then I have the proof that it was discussed in April.
I'd like to see it.
Thank you.
It was discussed in April again.
Okay, just a second. I just want to see the proof. Well, show me if you have proof of an earlier conversation. I don't believe that there was an earlier conversation. Let me see the one that occurred in April.
It was mainly the receipts.
I'm not getting involved with that at all. Right now, you had a place to live with your 3 children for much less than the $750 a month that you were paying at another residence.
Right. And I spent way more on groceries. I did all the groceries.
Whatever. Your children didn't eat more.
Right. And my children didn't live there the full time.
I don't care.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can I look on my phone? It might be faster. Is that okay if I show you the text?
I don't care where you show it to me. Just show it to me.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. So, apologize. Okay, apologize. Sorry. On April 24th. So if you want, and then you can scroll down because she kind of keeps for a couple days.
Oh, that wasn't an agreement, madam. These were final acts of desperation to get you to pay $400 a month. Here.
That was the first time I'd heard, about her.
Oh, no. That wasn't the first time you heard about it.
Right.
Because the first line is $400 better be under my door.
Right.
So that's not the first time you heard about it.
Right.
That's an act of desperation. Okay, so you had this conversation with her in December, and she was there until May. And according to you, you only paid $400 once. That's $2,000. By the way, how are your children supported?
I work. Well, I work, yes.
Is that a full-time job or a part-time job?
It was part-time.
Well, you don't support yourself and your 3 children with a part-time job. Do you get any child support for them?
I did get child support for 2 of them, yes.
For 2 of them?
Mm-hmm.
How much child support do you receive?
$300.
$300 a what?
A month.
Do you get any other assistance?
Yes, I had food stamps.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have food stamps?
Yes.
How much a month?
For something, I'm not exactly sure.
And when you bought food for the household, you used the food stamps as well as your other money from your part-time job, and got it, $400. So far, you owe your sister $2,000. That's for back rent. Now, you want to go through the damages that you allege that your sister caused?
Yes. So I had 2 couches, and those went away.
What do you mean both went away? What does that mean?
She got rid of them.
While she was living there? Mm-hmm. And you knew about it? In what month?
It was when I came back from vacation. My things were gone.
I'm not following. You were supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, according to her.
No, I was gone for 3.5 weeks.
You were gone for almost a month. Mm-hmm. She was babysitting for your children.
They don't really need babysat. They're older.
Well, your 12-year-old can't live by herself without a mother for a month.
No.
Okay. And your 18-year-old does what?
She works at a hotel.
So she works during the day or at night?
She didn't at the time. She was at 17 at the time.
You're not going to leave a 17, a 14, and an 11-year-old alone for a month?
Of course not.
Okay, so they were home with your sister?
Yes.
Let's get back to the initial question. I forgot what my question was before I went off on this tangent. Couches.
The couches.
That's where we're at.
Yes.
So you went away for a month, and when you came back, couches were gone.
Couches, the whole house had transformed into basically her house.
I don't care, basically her house. I want to know what was missing.
So the couches were missing.
Okay, which couches? Couches from where?
So the couch from the living room, it was a sectional, and the couch from the basement.
Living room and basement. What happened to those couches?
Oh, they were gone a long time before, and I can prove you a text of her saying that they were gone before I even moved in, actually in August. She knew, and her daughter and her boyfriend helped me load them up and take them to the dump. She, in fact, told me she was getting rid of a lot of old furniture she did not care about. I have pictures.
Just a second. What you have is proof that those 2 items were disposed of before she went away on vacation.
Way before I moved in.
Okay. Now, Miss Noble, your sister says that she has proof that those 2 couches were disposed of well before you went away on vacation. If she does, I'm not going to be happy with you. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Were those 2 couches gone before you went on vacation?
I can't recall, but I believe she wanted to make room for her furniture.
Just a second. Were those 2 couches gone before you went on vacation for a month.
I know the basement couch wasn't.
Okay. I think you're full of baloney.
Lucinda Noble claims her sister, Tiffany Acuna, owes for rent and property damage. Tiffany is countersuing for an illegal lockout and filing a false CPS report.
Okay, let's go. Property taken without permission. What property did she take without your permission?
Okay, so
what part she owes you for rent?
The TV stand, she broke it and threw it under the trampoline.
What's next?
The weed trimmer, she took that. She started giving my niece my belongings while I was gone. She started giving my niece video games, movies, my food storage containers. She was just giving my things away.
Okay, she owes you for rent. I went to graduate school after I finished with high school for 9 years. I'm not dealing with Tupperware. So far, she owes you $2,000 for rent.
Okay, and then there was also the wall damage, the windows, the blinds,
just a second. What wall damage and where?
The wall damage is from the room that she was staying in and the room that her boys were staying in.
May I see the damage that you're referring to?
Here's the one more of that. And then here's the blinds. And this was damages from her cat.
Well, this I can't see at all. Okay, so that I can't see at all. And if you're talking about nail holes, I'm not interested in nail holes where there were pictures. Putty them up. I don't know what this is a picture of. Tell me.
That's where her cat clawed up the carpet to get into her room.
Did you replace the carpet?
Not yet.
Do you have an estimate for replacing or patching that carpet?
They don't make that carpet anymore.
Okay, I don't know that. How did these blinds get broken?
I'm not sure. Are those the ones that were in my bedroom or the kids' bedroom? I really don't know, to be honest. But I do feel like I remember them being broken, but I just don't remember if they were broken when I already moved in or not. I really don't know, ma'am. I mean, honestly, I knew they were broken. It's like I'm remembering, but the house, like I said, was not in a good condition when I moved in.
Okay, I'm not talking about the rest of the house.
My daughter is actually, Tiffany told her that she knew they were.
She doesn't remember. You tell me that these blinds were in good condition before she and her family moved in.
Yes.
If she says she doesn't remember, I have to rely on what you say to me, because that's not ordinary wear and tear.
No.
Do you have a bill for new blinds?
From Lowe's, I have the estimate of what it will cost to replace them.
Okay, I'd like to see it. You do have a cat?
Yes, I have one cat.
Okay.
She has multiple.
So we're talking about $47.98.
Times 2.
Okay. Anything else? Any other?
For 2 blinds.
I only see one.
No, those are 2 different windows.
Oh, times 2. You're right. Anything else?
I have to remove the junk that she left at my house.
I was not allowed at her house.
What else?
That's
okay. If you have to think that hard, then we're finished. We're moving over to the countersuit. Okay. Counterclaim is for an illegal lockout. Okay, let me run through this illegal lockout and dispose of it quickly. The illegal lockout that you're referring to happened when your sister, who shouldn't have, took the door off your bedroom.
Correct.
She says she took the door off your bedroom because you weren't paying close enough attention to your children.
Correct.
And I assume she's talking about the 2-year-old.
Correct.
And when she took the door off your bedroom, you called the police.
Right, yep. I called the police. I have the incident report.
Yes, you called the police, and the police came, and when the police came on, do we have the date?
26th April.
The police arrived, and they told her she couldn't lock the door, and you were let in.
Correct.
Okay, so not egregious enough for me to have to deal with 2 sisters fighting. But the other part of your claim is that your sister filed a false CPS report.
Right.
And first, how do you know a CPS report was called in?
Well, they called me.
Child Protective Services.
Right, they did call me. But first, I actually had the phone call from my sister, my witness, who's here right now, because she had pre-warned me because she had gotten the phone call from this sister saying, Lucy is going to call on you.
Okay. Do you want to step up?
Sure.
Tell me your name.
My name's Stephanie Aslett. I'm the older sister from these 2. Yeah.
When did you have a conversation with Miss Noble about the defendant's children?
The same night that the cops were called, Tiffany had called me because Lucy's daughter had crawled through the window and opened the door.
So you spoke to Lucinda?
Yes.
On April 26th?
Yes.
Did you call her or did she call you?
She had called me because she wanted to let me know that the cops had been
Do you recall that conversation?
Yes, I do.
Okay, tell me about the conversation.
She called to let me know that she was letting me know that since I was the only one probably capable or in this position to take on a child, if CPS was involved, because the 2-year-old would not be able to go to his father. He was in prison at the time. And I was like, why are you calling and telling me this? Tiffany's a good mom. What's going on? And she goes, no, she's not. I've already called CPS and forewarned them that this is happening. She needs to be taken care of.
What's happening?
Apparently there was lice on her daughter when she was at her father's house, and the 2-year-old, apparently he was running around with a wet diaper.
Who was taken to their father's house?
The daughter that had the lice was...
The daughter was the 5-year-old?
Yes. And
Okay, not the 2-year-old.
Yeah. She supposedly had lice while she was at her dad's.
Went to her father's, and that was sometime in April. Is that correct?
Yes.
And got head lice.
Well, he had told me. I wasn't for sure, but I'd let my sister know just in case that she may have lice. Let's check the girls.
Okay. And your sister was home at the time?
Well, no, she was never home. Everything was over text message.
Just a second. Was that when she was away?
She was not staying at the house. She was not at the residence. She was staying at her boyfriend's house that was there.
Lucinda was staying at her
Yeah,
boyfriend's
right.
house?
Yes.
Okay. And that's on the 26th?
Yes.
Is that after the police were called?
That was prior to, supposedly the lice was prior to, and that's why she had called them prior to that night. And she was letting me know that she had called them and that I needed to be prepared to take on a 2-year-old.
What did you tell her?
I asked her why she would call them, what was going on, and I said, this is ridiculous. You know that this is ridiculous. And she goes, no, it's justified. And I said, I don't understand.
Did she tell you why?
Yeah, she tried to tell me that...
well, tell me exactly what she said to you. Why is this
She made
justified?
the comment that
so she called
Tiffany has
you.
not been there.
Okay, you had to ask
My
her
words
why.
to her were, how do you know this when you're never there?
And she said?
I just know.
And gave you no more specifics?
No.
Okay, you want to tell me about that conversation?
I never said I was calling CPS. I said someone will. I know the person who did. It wasn't me.
Okay, well...
But I knew it was going to be happening.
Okay, Stephanie, let's get clear, okay? When you spoke to Lucinda and she said to you, in effect, are you prepared to take on a 2-year-old? Did she tell you that someone was calling CPS?
No, she did not. She said that she would be the one calling and that she has already contacted them because of the situation at her home.
Okay. Now, assuming you and your sister lived alone together, whether you spent time with your boyfriend, I know you have older kids, but you were away. When you were away for that month, were you staying with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay. And you left your kids alone, correct?
With my sister.
With your sister. Now, why would you feel comfortable about leaving your own children with your sister if you felt that she neglected her own children?
They didn't need the amount of care that a 2-year-old does.
Are you telling me that a 15-year-old doesn't need a lot of care and watching these days? Or a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old doesn't need a lot of watching and supervising? Is that what you're suggesting to me?
Not as much as a 2-year-old.
Well, one is a physical watching to make sure that it eats and drinks and is bathed periodically. The other two are far more difficult. You got to have eyes all over the place to watch a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old. Got to have your eyes on their computer. You've got to have your eyes on their iPad. You have to have your eyes on their schooling, on their homework, on their everything else. You take a month to go off with your boyfriend. That, to me, is not participating with your children, especially since you suggest that your sister, with whom you left your children, was neglecting her own children.
Your Honor, I would just like to say that I was reaching out to her a lot of the time, too, where I would get 1 week, there was nothing. She said, I'm sorry, I had no Wi-Fi. Her children were skipping school. They were not listening to me. They would not do their chores.
Do I need you to reinforce what I just said?
Right.
I don't need you to reinforce.
Lucinda Noble is accusing her sister, Tiffany Acuna, of refusing to pay for rent. Tiffany claims Lucinda wrongfully reported her to Child Protective Services.
Now, you have something you want to say?
Many things, actually.
Well, many things. I don't want many things. What I want, stand up. What I want to know is you're her daughter.
Yes.
Your first name?
Anna Noble.
Anna, what do you do?
I work front desk at a hotel.
Graduate from high school?
No.
Why?
I was pulled out in moved to Missouri.
Pulled out by whom? By your mother?
Yeah.
And when your mother pulled you out, how old were you?
17.
Had you been going to school before?
Yes.
In what jurisdiction?
It was an alternative school.
When you say an alternative school, what kind of an alternative school?
For troubled youth.
Tell me about your trouble. Was it behavior trouble?
It was many things. I was a very wild teenager.
Until when were you a wild teenager?
Until I sent her to live with her dad.
I didn't ask you any questions. So now you can sit down.
Okay.
I'm not going into anything else. Lucinda, so far you went away for a month with your boyfriend, leaving your 3 children who you say don't need supervision. How long were you home before you took the door off her bedroom?
I got back from vacation in February, early February, and the door was removed in April for a few hours.
Okay. Do you have any proof other than this conversation that the plaintiff called CPS?
I believe it is proof. Just the thing that was reported is something she would only know. Would that be considered proof?
Well,
okay.
Let me hear what was reported.
It was reported that I would not treat my child with lice. That was what the CPS report was, and it was unsubstantiated, and I have that all proof.
Okay. When your 5-year-old went to her father, she went to visit with her father, and children do get head lice. It happens periodically. Lots of children who go to school, who interact with other children, come home and they get head lice. Had a lot of children, a lot of grandchildren, and it happens. And you usually treat it. I assume that her father did not treat it. Is that right?
He did treat it. He told me immediately.
No. So he treated it. So how do you know that the head lice was the nature of the complaint?
That's what was on the report.
May I see it? Your children weren't removed, except for your boy.
My one son, and then that lady.
And then returned.
All 3.
Oh, yeah.
All 3 kids were taken.
That's it.
Okay. Okay. There you go, sir.
Okay. You had a prior history with Child Protective Services.
Which I was unaware.
That's either a yes or a no.
Yep, yes.
And during the course of those prior proceedings, which were relatively current Child Protective proceedings, because that was in 2021, you were clearly drug tested by the Department of Social Services or Child Protective Services.
In 2018 or 19. This was at my doctor's prior when I was, and they reported it that I had failed one of my tests.
And at that time, well, you had an open case and you tested positive for serious drugs.
Right.
Very serious drugs. And this says that while under the influence of those drugs, you drove your children to the doctor's office while under the influence.
Right.
That's the report.
Right.
Okay. These reports all seem to indicate that they tried to see you, but you kept canceling appointments with them and were a no-show.
Well,
okay. That's what this report says. You gave me the report.
Right.
So let me understand this. After coming in and making an assessment, Child Protective Services determined to file a petition on behalf of your youngest child. Yes, they did.
Okay, yeah.
Well, after everything I read there, I think that was probably a good idea. I don't know what happened with that. I assume that the petition was ultimately dismissed if you have your children back with you.
Right away.
Do you have your children back with you?
Yeah, right away, as soon as I went to court that day.
That's okay. They determined, after they spoke to you, and irrespective of either her motivation or anybody acting on her behalf, or somebody that she knew, or her, called Child Protective Services. The question that I'm presented with, was there a basis for concern about your children?
No.
And based upon the reports that I've read here, and those are reports that you gave me, that those serious questions about what was going on with the young children in your house deserved a second look. You had had a history with methamphetamines. You had a serious weight loss. You refused to meet with caseworkers, according to the report you gave me.
I have other reports, too, if I may, please.
Thank you. I'm not finished.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Because if you've been in family court, as I was for 25 years, often incidents are called in of suspected child abuse and neglect. A caseworker goes out, takes a look, and says, you know, I'll continue to watch it, but I don't have to file a case. It hasn't reached the level where I think that I should file a case and remove a child. In this case, Child Protective Services came and tried to do an investigation, which according to the worker, you evaded. You missed appointments, you rescheduled, you didn't show up.
One time.
And then, not one time, they also had a prior history of you involving drugs, involving driving your children under the influence of drugs. Recent history. Didn't happen 20 years ago. If it happened 2019, this says 21. If it happened 2019 or 2020, that's still recent history. Okay. So whoever called, it was worth, according to this caseworker, they had sufficient information based upon what they saw and what they knew to remove the 2-year-old. So that part of your case is dismissed, which is the only part of your counterclaim that I was really entertaining. You owe your sister $2,096, $2,000 for rent and $48 for, I forget what it was, blinds. Thank you. We're done.
My property?
We're done.
I had drug tested every month during the time that this happened, and it was like an oopsie under my doctor's supervision.
I just helped her, and she takes advantage and takes advantage.
You don't call CPS on your sister when you're the one that took off to Africa for 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
And this whole thing wasn't about money. It just, I needed someone to tell her, look, you can't take advantage of people anymore.
She's still the outcast that everyone's upset with.
I'm not the outcast, though, but I'm definitely not helping her anymore.
So we've seen it a lot here, claims for unsubstantiated CPS reports being filed and people seeking damages for that. So I'm just wondering, do you think there was a basis? Is that why, obviously, you didn't rule in her favor on the claim of the false CPS report? So there must have been something in there that...
You know, when people use Child Protective Services as a retaliation for other behavior, that's always abhorrent. But there are some situations where CPS may be called because someone knows that there is an abuse or neglect and has not done it until the other person irritates them. Well, that's not a false CPS report. Maybe motivated by something else, but that's not a false report. And so, in this case, the defendant had a history with CPS, current history with CPS that was relatively serious. Well, then it was a good thing that CPS went.
Because that would be basis itself.
It's basis itself, basis itself.
That alone. And just because she was cleared at the end of the day and has her children back now doesn't mean that it was an unsubstantiated claim.
Oh, no, they're watching.
Yeah.
They're watching, and they should be watching. I don't think any of them are bargains. The 18-year-old daughter who was here, who was a troubled child, according to her, and never graduated from high school, although she's working, because her mother moved her around also a lot, was certainly an inadequate caretaker for the other 2 younger children. She goes off for a month with her boyfriend. It's amazing how some children just grow up by themselves. Sometimes it works out okay. I don't know, somehow I felt sorry for all of those kids.
मैं इन ज़मीनों पर वापस आया हूँ जिन्हें तूने फतह किया था। मेरी तकदीर ही कुछ ऐसी थी कि तेरे मज़ार पर दुआ करता रहा, लेकिन तुझे दुनिया की आंखों से एक बार भी न देख पाया। लेकिन तू गम न कर, तेरा बेटा उस्मान, यही चुटकी भर लोग जिन्हें तू साथ लेकर आया था, उन्होंने तेरे ख्वाब को हकीकत बना दिखाया है। एक अजीम रियासत की नींव रखती है। मैं जानता हूँ उसके चेहरे में मैं तुझे देखूंगा। ऐ मेरे सरदार, तेरा रूह कराम शाद रहे, कब्र में सुकून से सो। उस्मान भी, ये तेरा अपना कबीला है, ये तेरा अपना लश्कर है और ये तेरा अपना घर है तुर्गुत गाजी। हमें तेरी जरूरत है। माशाअल्लाह उस्मान, तू वाकई अपने बाप की सच्ची औलाद है। अब बाकी जिंदगी तेरा साथ बनकर हक के रास्ते पर लड़ूंगा। अल्लाह गवाह है, मेरा दिल, मेरी तलवार, सब कुछ तेरे नाम है।